Hey, everybody. Welcome to Lorebeards 40,000. I am Ross Watson.
I am Tank Ace Alexis,
Oh,
here
hi.
to
Hello.
destroy the enemies of the Imperium.
Oh, hi. Hello. Welcome, everyone. Yes, today on Lorebeards 40,000, we're going to talk about the War World.
Armageddon.
The War World. Armageddon. It is the actual setting for the first campaign in the 11th edition of Warhammer 40k.
Yep. And I am stupid excited for it because it, like, right off rip, the Armageddon box set is fantastic if you are collecting orcs. Like, if you are an orc player right now, you are feasting on some of the best looking models. And then we got it spoiled that there's new bikes coming out for both the Imperium and orcs. We got new buggies coming out for them. We got a whole bunch of new units coming out there. It is crazy how many cool new things that they got, and some of their older tech is being reimagined and brought back to the tabletop. If you're a Space Marine fan, whatever. You just sit over in the corner. You get some remakes of some terrible units like Vanguard veterans. They look terrible.
Well, I'm going to read a quote because it's a really good quote. Armageddon, a world whose name is known across the Imperium. Armageddon, a world whose name has become a byword for war and destruction on a massive scale. Armageddon, where the fate of 1,000 worlds hangs in the balance. That is a quote from Lord Commander Solar Eugenian. I think it was really, really good, so I thought I'd bring it in. Oh, nice. Yeah. So what is Armageddon? What is it?
Well, first off, we should introduce ourselves.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
I know you're excited.
I
get that, Ross, but you got cool your jets for like 2 seconds.
I'm at an 11. You need me down like a 4.
And then we go back up to 14. Okay. We push that button so hard, that big red button, and push it to overdrive, and we don't even know how fast we're going, but we're gonna crash faster. Damn it!
Crash faster. I love that. I do really love the trailers they've released. It's just amazing. Yeah. All right. My name is Ross Watson. I am a game designer and author. You would know me from Warhammer 40k roleplay, several Warhammer 40k video games. I was also on the U.S. White Dwarf team for a couple of years. If you like the lore for the Inquisition or the Death Watch or Rogue Traders in general, I wrote a great deal of all three of those.
I agree with this. I agree with this right here. I should put the War Boss instead.
The War Boss. Well, the War Boss. Yeah, I guess the War Boss. If Gazgul Maguruk Thraka is the War Boss of Warhammer 40k, so that's true.
So, my name is Alexis. I go by Norn Queen Alexis. I'm a Viking reenactor. I do a whole bunch of other things, including teaching people how to play Warhammer 40k. And I have been in this hobby for so many years. I absolutely love it. Also, it's Freedom Day for Americans. You know what you guys should do? Take down a tyrannical government. Anyway, jokes aside.
I mean, that would be a very American thing to do.
It would be.
We have done it several times, in fact.
But 40k stuff. We are talking about Armageddon. Funny enough, Armageddon was one of the first video games that I actually picked up for Warhammer 40k way back in the day, and the game sucked. It was terrible. And then I replayed it recently in the Warhammer Classics, and I loved it. Like I go back and play that game off stream to see if I could do it better.
Really? Is that the one that's basically Panzer General?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
It's just an amusing game, and it's so basic, but it gives me such nostalgia because it has all the old units in it, and knowing that GW is revisiting old models, I'm still looking at the Kill Fortress like, come on, GW, you know what to do. Remake that thing. And the half tracks, oh my god.
You should try Final Liberation if you like the old stuff, because it's got the Weird Boy Towers, it's got the Kill Cruiser, it's got the Lungburster, it's got the Bubble Chucker, and the Lifted Dropper, just to name a few.
Oh my god, give orcs back their tractor weapons.
Leviathans are in that game too. Oh my gosh.
Oh, we get to talk about some weird things today, and I'm super excited about it because all of this is involved in Armageddon. And I get to talk about an Ordinatus and what the hell that is and why it's so powerful. We get to talk about Titans and how one idiot sent an entire Titan Legion to their doom. Uh, yeah. Also,
Herman von Straub is a big idiot. That's for
we
sure.
get to talk about how the Armageddon computer game is still technically canon.
So
Oh, man.
Armageddon is an imperial hive world that is located approximately 10,000 light years from Terra in the Segmentum Solar. So it is not that far away from the Emperor. It's the most contested battlefield in the entire Imperium of Man, arguably. It has undergone millennia of industrial exploitation, and the surface has been stripped down to toxic ash wastes and polluted oceans. Basically, human beings can only really survive in towering kilometer-tall hive cities that dot the landscape like little cones sticking up from the surface.
There's also a forest.
I mean, there's
there are forests.
yeah. There's the sludge. There's the sludge sea as well.
Yep,
There's
the sludge sea.
yeah. There's a lot. There's wild stuff on the biomes.
There's like not kraken, like squig leviathan creatures that live in the swamps of the hive, like underneath flooded sections. There are so many weird things in Armageddon, and I absolutely love it because GW, it this all started way back in the day when GW wasn't taking the lore too seriously, but they were transitioning into their more serious take on the lore. So there is some silly stuff in there, but there's also this overarching story of just, well, how much evil is too evil when you have somebody like Commissar Yarrick versus Gazgul. And both of them are tyrannical rulers in their own right that use like the worst of the worst when it comes to like their political topics and things like that. Both of them use slavery. Both of them will kill billions of people at a whim if it means a victory. And it is crazy that they are so similar yet polar opposites. That is the best bromance in all of Warhammer, and I absolutely love it for them. History will remember them as roommates.
I really want to talk about like 40k editions in general someday because first edition / Rogue Trader, that's what the book was called. Super silly, that's where we have Obi-Wan Sherlock Clouseau and the Half Eldar Astropath Space Marine and stuff like that. It's very, very silly. Second edition is where we really get the Brian Ansell influence comes in. You get a lot more of the chaos stuff. You get the realm of chaos. You get all those
you got
that really wild artwork.
Orcs.
You get some wild orc stuff. Oh, here we go, the orcs. Third edition is where it really took a dive into grimdark, but even still, there was some pretty silly stuff in third edition. I would argue fourth onward, though, it kind of stabilized and crystallized the lore into a far more serious business, approach. There's still goofy stuff, but there's absolutely always will be goofy stuff, and I really love that about 40k. But yeah, that's kind of how I see it. I think we should do a top episode about that someday.
Well, yeah, because then we can bring up like 8th and 9th edition where Hero Hammer, where 40k for some reason tried to push itself to be like, there are heroes within Warhammer, and it's like, are they actually heroes? And then now in 11th edition, the lore has switched back to being, hey, this really cool Blood Angel character that's on the front box and everything? Yeah, he gets absolutely obliterated.
Well, there is a Blood Angel character that dies on Armageddon, and we will get to talk about him. Captain Tycho. But yeah, in a discussion of the editions, we could actually talk about what each edition brought to the table in terms of like rules and gameplay. Because third edition was the Rhino Rush, fourth edition was like the Leaf Blower, stuff like that. We'll keep go through it. Anyway,
I really want to do that now.
Right? This is what I'm talking about. So the story of Armageddon, though, it is a story of conquest and cover-ups, legendary heroes like Yarrick and Tycho and Gazgul, a cycle of war that stretches from the very birth of the Imperium to the modern age, and it has just become the central stage for the launch of Warhammer 40,000's 11th edition. Oh my gosh, the true origin. You're gonna have to endure some pain, Alexis, because the
Hey,
true
Ross.
origin of Eleanor heavily involves your favorite storyline,
Oh yeah.
the War of the Beast.
I know. We're gonna glance right over that just the same way the new lore does, because the new lore doesn't even mention the War of the Beast.
Oh my god.
It never even brings it up. But Ross, there was this story a long time ago in a galaxy far, far. Actually, it was the same galaxy. Do you remember that time the Emperor was almost choked out by an orc?
I do, and
Do you
Horus
think
had to save him.
Do you think that world will ever become like super influential to like the greater lore of Warhammer 40K?
We're talking about it today. I'm so excited.
Do you think that that particular battle has anything to actually do with this? This is a legit question. This isn't me being a smartass.
The secret origins of Armageddon are interesting, but they might possibly be relevant to the orcs. That's the one thing.
That's where I'm sitting at. I think that the original it was Ugelhard, right?
What?
The war boss that choked the Emperor.
Oh no, Erlak Erg.
Erlak Erg, I think, had just the same plan. Like, hey, this is a centralized planet where I can keep all my boys, and they can fight.
That's the thing. We don't really know.
Yeah, because the orcs don't tell their stories.
Well, and especially in the Heresy era, orcs were there's a pendulum. So according to Games Workshop, there's a pendulum that swings in between Gork and Mork. Okay, and in the Heresy era, the pendulum was pegged over towards brutal but cunning. So the Heresy era orcs were not silly. They were not really into tech so much. They were just like big, brutal badasses who didn't really joke around that much. But now, 10,000 years later, the pendulum swung the other way. Now we're in the cunning but brutal era of the orcs, where they are a little more silly, a little more thinking about, big concepts and pictures and stuff like that. So honestly, we don't know.
And there is a whole switch up in the lore itself where Gazgul went from being honorable to not as honorable to Yarrick in the most recent battle. In fact, he tries to snipe Yarrick.
But we got to talk about the past before we get to the present.
I know, but I'm excited to talk about one of my favorite vehicles in all of Warhammer 40K.
Which is?
The Fortress of Arrogance.
Yes, the Fortress of Arrogance. Well, we will get there. We actually covered the Fortress of Arrogance in the episode that we did for Commissar Yarrick. So
yep, but now we have new lore for it.
That's true. We will probably have to revisit Yarrick's. We have to do part 2 of Yarrick at some point in the future.
Yep.
All right. So the secret origins of Armageddon is that it once was a world called Eleanor Prime. It's one of the most consequential secrets in all of the entire 40K setting because it has been deliberately buried. This truth has been deliberately buried by the Adeptus Mechanicus following the War of the Beast. So we have to start with what's called the Eleanor Crusade. This occurred at the very beginning of the 30th millennium. It was one of the first major campaigns of the Great Crusade.
It's also where Horus figured out that he could actually get like top knots and became obsessed with them. He saw the orc hair squig and was like, "Oh, there's a cure."
Horus is famously bald. That's the joke here.
Also, his legion has a ton of top knots for some reason.
Well, that's from the gang culture on Chthonia. But let's talk about the Eleanor Crusade because this was so Eleanor Prime at this time in 30K at the dawn of the Great Crusade was the throne world of the mightiest orc empire ever encountered in human history. It was ruled by the overlord Erlak Erg, and the Emperor of Mankind personally led this Eleanor Crusade to fight him, which was a force of staggering scale. There were 100,000 Space Marines, something like 8 million Imperial troops, 100 Titans, 600 warships. It was ginormous.
Didn't he also bring the 10,000 with him?
He brought some.
Yeah.
He brought some of them.
That's Adeptus Custodes.
Right. They were under the supreme tactical command of Horus Lupercal. And the battles on Olenor were long and hard, and at some point, Erlak Erg nearly killed the Emperor, and Horus stepped in to save him. And anything that could threaten the Emperor in physical combat is significant, because he had to fight his way through Constantine Valdor and a whole bunch of Custodes just to get there.
Yeah.
Erlak Erg's been described. Yeah.
Keep in mind, there's only been 3 things that have actually threatened the Emperor. That is Erlak Erg, Horus, who killed the Emperor, and Draknian.
I mean, he mortally wounded him. That's what the lore tells us.
If I was a rotting skeleton kept alive through, super magic that kept my consciousness there, I'm pretty sure my body's dead. But
the key word is alive, and you did use that word. So
all right, you got me on a technicality. You're technically correct, the best kind of correct.
Hey, we've got a subscriber. Thank you, Darius Rose, for being a member for 6 months. Really appreciate you. What are army numbers on average for the planet? I mean, for Armageddon currently?
So the Armageddon Steel Legion, as it currently stands, is butchered. They are so depleted that they need other resources in to save them at this point. But I think it was like, at one point in the lore, they said they manned 100 super heavies. Like, they had thousands of tanks. So we don't have exact numbers, and exact numbers in 40K. I got to put this out there. Even the books that tell you the exact numbers of units don't actually break it down completely. And it's mostly a guideline than an actual what was on the planet. But for Guard, it's typically in the millions. For Sisters of Battle, it's typically in the thousands to tens of thousands. For Space Marines, it's usually in the hundreds to maybe 1,000 if the entire chapter deploys, which only one chapter typically deploys 1,000 Marines at once.
Yeah, I can give you an informed estimate. And my informed estimate, the second war for Armageddon, and there's a reason why I'm going to start there, but in the second war for Armageddon, it was around 4 million Astra Militarum and around 4 million orcs, roughly equal on those sides. In the third war, it was roughly like 1.5 million guardsmen and like probably 50,000 Space Marines. So those were my informed estimates, and that's unfortunately, like she says, we know like the names of the units, but we don't have like a full breakdown of like how many men or anything like that.
Also, when GW says, hey, 4 tactical squads were there, well, are those demi-tactical squads, or are they tactical squads, or is that a tactical company? And what chapter are they talking about? Because some chapters have tactical squads that number in the 15s to 20s versus, and that's the Black Templar, where they have 10 Space Marines, 10 neophytes that fight alongside them.
Well, that's not even counting the Rhino drivers. That's not even counting. Let's just say there's a lot. But anyway,
there was a comment here I really like.
If Devin Urbina says, if Games Workshop wanted to be based, orcs will win this war for Armageddon and establish a new orc something.
I'm assuming New York Colony or territory.
Yeah, probably.
New York City, ruled by Big Boss.
Oh, New York City. I get it. New York City. Yeah, okay. Sword Hand. Ruled by Big Boss, Sword Hand, Mamectony. I think they're referencing Mondani. The current. Yeah, Mondani. Yeah, I think they're referencing. That's cool. That's very cool. He is based. I'll give you that.
Yeah. Do you know what my orc army was called when I was playing orcs?
What?
New Orkers. Do you know what their boys were called?
What?
The Warriors.
Nice. I can dig it. Hey. I would have called them the Orkland Raiders.
Oh, that's also a good one.
Hey.
I think if I ever redo it, the Def Copter Squadrons would be called that.
Well, the Orkland Raiders is a Shadowrun reference.
Yeah.
Just from the New California Republic over. Well, not no NCR is Fallout. Sorry, from the whatever the California book was called for Shadowrun. I can't remember off the top of my head. We're gonna talk about Shadowrun actually soon for the Lorebeards and role playing. So we'll go over do that. All right. So let me go back to where were we? Right. So Eleanor, the all you really need to know is that Urlacher was defeated and the orcs are scattered, and Eleanor was a major one of it was a capstone victory of the Great Crusade. It was the like the peak moments of the Great Crusade. And
you have a super chat here.
Is that a super chat? Oh, sure is. Hey, Sean DeWolf. Sean DeWolf, thank you so much. Possibly 50,000 Marines on one planet or system seems like a lot. Is that like half of all? No, that's not even.
500,000 would be roughly half of all Space Marines because there's 1,000 chapters. Each one has 1,000 members. So at any point, there's probably 1 million Marines active or dead at any one time.
Those numbers are deeply, deeply fungible because there's the Space Wolves and the Black Templars alone have probably 20,000 each. So that 50,000 is a lot, but it is not half of all Space Marines in the galaxy.
Yeah.
But I hear you. I see you. You're like, wow, that sounds like an awful lot of Space Marines. Second War for Armageddon was huge. Actually, all the Armageddon wars are huge.
They're at least this big.
They're very big. They're very big. All right. So where were we? Right. So Eleanor Urlacher gets defeated, and they have this thing called the Triumph of Eleanor, which holy shit, I can't wait to talk about this as like a whole episode because it's really important. It was like the biggest gathering of Primarchs essentially ever. Mm-hmm. Anyway, the Triumph of Eleanor is where the Emperor declared his intention to return to Terra. He anointed Horus as War Master of the Imperium and gave him command authority over all the Primarchs and every part of the Imperial war machine, which there was no way that could go poorly.
Not at all.
How could that possibly go wrong?
Look, if you give absolute power to somebody, they will absolutely protect everybody. Duh.
So the seeds of pride and resentment and dissension were sown at Eleanor, and in time, these would fester into an event called the Horus Heresy, which we will absolutely talk about in probably several episodes of this show.
Daddy issues the war.
But that is all you really need to know about that. The Triumph of Eleanor is that the planet was like a major part of the planet was essentially paved by the Mechanicus into a massive parade route for all of the forces to be paraded in front of the Emperor and all the Primarchs. It was this ginormous celebration to cap off an incredibly successful campaign of the Great Crusade. All right, now we fast forward about 550 years.
Oh yeah, the planet gets teleported.
We're about to talk about that.
No big deal. That wouldn't cause catastrophic damage to most planets nearby.
I'm sorry. Let me rephrase. Not 550, 1,550 years, roughly. Eleanor had largely been forgotten. It was the most devastating orc threat of the past, but the Horus Heresy had shattered a whole bunch of stuff in the Imperium, and people were just like, they were tired of war. They were tired of dealing with the galaxy being ripped in half by, well, not the Imperium being ripped in half, I should say.
Ross, before we move on, there is some new lore that I need to plug right here.
Okay.
When they presented this parade route and everything, apparently the Mechanicus was up to something on the planet as well. And there was a lot of hidden technologies on the planet. Is this actually relevant? Not really. It's just a way of explaining objectives in a future campaign. I'm not even kidding. That's the lore.
It might be relevant. I would like to cover because it might be relevant. There's some theories that it could be very relevant. Anyway, so 1,500 years after Eleanor, you get a new orc warlord, a colossal, hyper intelligent guy called known only as the Beast. and he rebuilt his empire on the ruins of the old one. He centered his capital, which was a city called Gorkograd, which is a great name, on the exact spot where Horus and the Emperor had held their triumph. So he built his capital there. And this was a deliberate act of symbolic defiance. The beast, well, he was unlike pretty much any orc the galaxy had seen before. His warriors fought in disciplined formations. They could aim their weapons accurately. They even fielded an orc diplomat, which was one of the craziest things, unique in all of orc history. He transformed moons into what were called attack moons, which is Alexis's favorite thing ever.
That's not how that works.
These were crude but functional Death Stars, basically. They were capable of instantly teleporting across the galaxy via orc subspace technology, which is a very weird thing. And the beast's ultimate goal was to convert Eleanor Prime into an attack moon or attack planet or something like that, and teleport it directly to Terra to destroy humanity's home. That was his goal. Now, the Imperium launched 3 desperate invasions of Eleanor, culminating in the Primarch Vulcan sacrificing himself in an explosion within the beast's temple Gargant, because he had a Gargant that was actually like a temple to the gods, Gork and Mark. Really, all Gargants are like totemic in many ways, but like his was particularly special. The Imperial Fists enacted their Last Wall initiative to combine all their forces, all their successor chapters. The newly created Death Watch got involved. Hey, Death Watch, let's hear for the Death Watch. And which, by the way, the Death Watch was a response to the War of the Beast.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Sisters of Silence got involved and finally ended the conflict. And Alexis does not want me to dwell on the War of the Beast, so I won't.
Okay, no. So I do want to add one thing to this. The newer lore for Armageddon does not reference the War of the Beast in any way, and it's really funny. It hints that there was a battle with an orc warlord who was intelligent, and that's about it. And there are a slight bit others, but that's about it.
Devin Urbina has a comment here. He says, I thought attack moons were like moons that you just attached rockets to, pushed around to ram stuff. No, those are rocks. Those are asteroids. Alexis is going to love this because now I get to talk about attack moons a little bit.
Oh my God.
So attack moon in the War of the Beast, the attack moons were these incredibly crazy mechanical. They were actually like built. They were not like a moon. They were built, and they had orc faces on. Like at least one of them had an orc face that like the jaw moved on the moon. You can see it in orbit. You can see it from the ground. It's like looking up the moon, seeing a face on the moon talking to you, and that's how the beast would communicate. It was insane. Yeah, I Am Slaughter is the first book, which has a lot of this stuff in it. Ricky Chapman has super chat.
Ricky Chapman, I knew it was coming, and I was trying to avoid it.
He says, War of the Beast, we're slaughter.
Yep.
I Am Slaughter is a very weird book. If you're curious, go read The War of the Beast. If you're not curious, you're not really missing that much. I think we've covered the majority of it.
I will say that War of the Beast is definitely a series of Warhammer books.
Of all the books I've read, those are certainly some of them.
They are some of the silliest Warhammer books, and I would put them in the same category as like the original Inquisitor novel, where they are part of Warhammer's history. They definitely are.
This is the part of the show where I say the absolute best way to support us, support the channel, and support more content for Lorebeards 40K coming your way is Super Chats. We're all very grateful for everyone who chooses to support us with Super Chats, and frankly, it is directly impacting our lives. So thank you so much for Super Chats.
Thank you.
All right. Now we talk about the Mechanicus. This is the part you've been waiting for, Alexis. After the War for the Beast, Lord Commander Maximus Thane ordered the planet destroyed via Exterminatus to prevent another beast from arising. Because, the beast arises
Hold on. That planet is important, and it's definitely been destroyed, Ross. It is completely gone. Look, I have a piece of paperwork that says so. Don't worry about the teleporting technologies that the orcs were using. Stop worrying about that. We're just going to start digging around and figuring out all the orc technology and hiding some of our own. And, that's nothing to worry about. We just teleport the planet away. I mean, we destroyed the planet in its entirety, and no other planet got knocked out of orbit because of this.
Right. Let me translate that. What Alexis means to say is the planet was ordered to be exterminatus to death, but the Mechanicus were like, hey, there's all this really great teleporter technology. We would like to study that shit. So they secretly reverse engineered the orc teleportation technology and moved the entire planet to a new star system on the edge of the segmentum solar. This was done by High Fabricator Cubic. Fabricator General Cubic is the guy's name. He defied the order of exterminatus, and he then told everybody, "Oh yeah, we moved Eleanor into a star. It's no more. That planet is gone." But Eleanor, having been moved, was then very soon colonized. Within a few centuries, it was colonized.
You put people on it now. You can't destroy it.
It very intentionally was colonized. So by the time we get to the 41st millennium, which is, of course, the current era, almost no one in the galaxy knew the actual truth, because the war world called Armageddon was the ancient heart of the greatest orc empire to ever exist. And then it was the capital of the beast, who was the second greatest empire that we know of. I guess maybe outside of maybe Octarius.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if Octarius v. the Beast who would win. That's a pretty interesting question.
I do want to correct myself really quickly. I'm not saying the War of the Beast is not canon. It did happen in the lore. What I'm saying is that a lot of the details of the War of the Beast series is largely overlooked by Games Workshop. So in the newer lore, when they're digging around for the old orc technology and old AdMech technologies and everything and all the tech that was hidden on that world, that's what they're talking about.
It is theorized that orcs are drawn to Armageddon with a almost primal compulsion because it resonates in their psychic gestalt as sacred ground.
Now, Ross, are you ready for this? The orcs can navigate the warp based on the presence of Armageddon.
Wow. the Armageddon is like their Astronomicon?
The Armageddon is their astronaut. Well, it's actually mostly where a ton of orcs are. They know instinctually to go that way.
That's what I'm saying. I think it's the theory is that Armageddon is that lodestone that pulls them with a primal instinct.
It's almost like their pack.
The astronorm. Yes, it's almost like they're the crew, right? Yep. Nestor Vitover says the Astromorcican. Very good. All right. So Devin Urbina asked, are they allowed to do that? Study orc tech. Depends on who's in charge.
So,
Fabricator General Cubic said, this is fine. It's okay. Fine. I am the head of the cult Omnissiah. I decide what is right. And all the tech priests were like, okay, boss. And then, again, this was a long time ago. This was, roughly 8,000 years before the current era. So a little more maybe.
Now, I will say that if they're from like Stygius 8, they're going to study alien technology to make better technology for the Imperium. That is kind of their whole thing. Most other tech priests, because again, the Mechanicus is not one unified faction.
It's 1,000 tech cults in a trench coat.
Yeah, it's 1,000 Jacaros in a trench coat. Some of them do study alien technology. Some of them retro-engineer alien technology. But a lot of the times they view it as heresy to even wield technology of other races. There's a story from Armageddon. It's a comic where a guy picks up a rifle, an orc gun, and shoots it a couple of times, and his superior officer just executes him. So using alien tech is kind of like a desperate thing. It's like, you could, but don't. But also Yarick does, but don't do it.
Well, again, it's a lot of this is based on who's in charge. A lot of it is based on what organization. Like the tech priests look at tech differently than the Astra Militarum looks at tech. And remember, and the guy who shot that gun, and the guy who shot the guy who shot the gun, both of them don't understand technology almost at all. Remember, because the tech priests hoard that shit and they treat it like religion. Anyway,
well, one of my favorite things though is apparently the Cadians know how to repair their tanks, like do tread changes and things like that. They just don't do it when there's AdMech nearby because they don't want the AdMech to know.
It's considered a sin. Yes.
Yep.
it's like a minor sin, but it's considered a sin. All right, so now we get to the Wars of Armageddon. Dun dun dun. This is the big time. This is Gazgul. This is all the good stuff. Well, actually, the first war is not Gazgul.
Whoa! That's heresy, Ross. Everyone knows there's only 3 Wars of Armageddon, not 5, not 4, not 3. There's only 2.
Thou shalt count to 3.
Yes. Now, I will tell you that the first one was definitely the orcs.
The first one was definitely not the orcs.
Yeah, it wasn't.
The first war for Armageddon is the least known of the Armageddon conflicts, and there's a very deliberate reason for that, because the invasion started with chaos cultists from a group called the Children of Sanguinary Unholiness.
How could they be evil?
Right. They started rebellions in the hive cities of Armageddon during a warp storm. It was a textbook chaos infiltration operation, okay? And a space hulk called the Devourer of Stars emerged from the warp in the Armageddon system. The Imperial defenders were already stretched thin dealing with the cultists, and aboard this space hulk is none other than the demon primarch of the World Eaters, Angron.
That's a slight pickle.
Yeah. He's a berserker. He's a colossal demon prince of Khorne. Angron's purpose was to go to Armageddon and reassemble a unified World Eaters strike force capable of deep Imperial incursion. He's like, I'm going to get all my boys. We're going to get on my ship. We're going to go to Terra. We're going to kick some serious ass. This was kind of echoing those Horus Heresy campaigns back in the day. Mm-hmm. His army included the Cruor Praetoria, which is a great name, which are the personal bodyguard of 12 bloodthirsters that accompany Angron wherever he goes. They are amongst the most powerful of their kind. Nearly half. Sorry. You know how chaos is like corruptive? You know how it gets in you and it makes you do things.
You say that like it's a bad thing. I'm just here to try to defend chaos. Just let it into your heart.
Says the lady with the Slanesh tattoos.
What? You can't see that.
So nearly half of Armageddon's planetary defense force defected to the invaders. Because chaos or because, hey, we finally have a chance to escape the goddamn oppression of the Imperium. Take your pick. So Chapter Master Logan Grimnar of the Space Wolves arrived to bolster the shattered defenses in the east along the river Chiron. Chiron?
I always say Chiron.
Okay. We'll say Chiron. It's Chaeron. So
because it's one of those names that depending on where you're from, you say it different.
Right. And along this river, the Imperium held the line. They were like, this far, no further. But in the west, Angron himself was leading the assault along the river Styx. And a lot of the names on Armageddon are very biblical for very strong reasons. Well, Styx is not biblical, I guess, but
I mean, I would argue that it's from Dante's Inferno.
Associated with the underworld is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
A lot of the names on Armageddon are associated with the underworld or associated with themes of the underworld. So the river Styx is where Angron was raging and rampaging around. And he smashed through the line towards Hive Infernus and Hive Hell's Reach. Remember the naming convention, because you're going to hear this. You're going to hear those names again. So Grimnar was like, okay, cool. I'm going to call on my secret weapon. I'm going to call in my boys, the anti-demon specialists. the Grey Knights.
Now, what's cool about this is this was the introduction of the Grey Knights. This was the big thing. When this war was being written, Epic was still a game, and you were very much playing the first part of this, and the Primarchs were just added to the Epic system. Now, I'm saying Epic, technically, Epic is like 4 different games all combined into one sometimes, but the Primarchs were playable in Epic. And these campaigns were a ton of fun. You had thousands of tanks on the field, and Legions Imperialis does a really good job of echoing what it was at the time. And I think it's a good game. I just don't like turn-by-turn games. You go, I go type games. The Grey Knights introduction here was supposed to be like the big ace in the hole. Like, this is the faction that kills chaos. It is kind of weird that it goes up against Khorne a lot. You would think it would go up against Tzeentch a lot more because it's mind versus mind. But it tends to be brain versus brawn is what they're going with for the theme of this.
I know how Lex Luthor would weigh in on that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so fun fact, Epic was just a game. Like, it was called Warhammer 40,000 Epic, and then a later edition was called Epic Armageddon, specifically set on Armageddon. I was around for that. That was during the period when I was working in Games Workshop. And then there was Epic Swordwind, which was about Bealton.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that may have been the last of the Epic games before Legions Imperialis.
I'm trying to think. I know Space Marine was one of them, but I think Space Marine became Epic.
Well, this is I'd have to.
That's a whole other topic. We could talk about that later.
Yeah. Devin Urbina is asking, is this the war that leads to the months of shame? Yes, you are reading ahead. But yes. All right, so the Grey Knights show, and it's important to point out, like, a lot of the stuff about this first war for Armageddon is old lore. A lot of it is from different sources, from magazines and Epic battle reports and stuff. So here's a grain of salt. I'm going to tell you some names. I'm going to tell you some things that happened. It is definitely older lore and very rarely gets referenced. So just keep that in mind. So the Grey Knights, at the time, were a very closely guarded secret. Their existence was considered like a state secret of the Imperium. Like, nobody knows about the Grey Knights. We don't let you know about the Grey Knights. What Grey Knights? They don't exist. The Grey Knights are the Inquisition's chamber militants. It's a fun way to say that they basically work for the Ordo Malleus of the Inquisition. Although that's a simplification that is ignoring a lot of nuance and a lot of shades of gray.
They were potentially started in the heresy.
They were definitely started in the heresy. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Janus, the first chapter of the Grey Knights, was a former Thousand Son called Janus.
Yep.
Anyway.
They started out as a secret controlled by Malcador, but not the Emperor, which is an important distinction because Malcador controlled the Assassinorum and things like that. Basically, Malcador is the one that controlled, pretty much kept the Emperor in line.
Malcador was a fucking puppet master. I want to talk about Malcador really bad because he founded the Inquisition, he was the first Grand Master of the Order of Assassins, founded the Grey Knights, founded the Knights Errant. He basically, if you watch our episode on the strongest psychers of 40K, Malcador is the guy who hid the Moon of Titan in the warp for years. He was a really strong psycher. And he was also a shadowy puppet master of the early Imperium.
Now, anyway, we don't know the exact number of members of the Grey Knights. We don't know their chapter strength. We don't know how many ships they have. We don't know how much war gear they have. They have very unique war gear that's only meant for them, like their psychic, their psi weapons that no other chapter has. We know that they don't give to the Death Watch. Maybe we have no idea. They are chapter number 666. Their gene seed comes directly from the Emperor himself, or so they claim. They have an order that is still standing, that if the Emperor leaves the Golden Throne, they themselves are to put him back onto the throne. The
Well,
custodians,
we're not.
whether or not they can do that is a whole nother story.
I'm still unconvinced that is not the terminus decree and what that means. We'll have to get into that at some point.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's
The,
one of the theories about what the terminus decree means is that they will put him back on the gold.
yeah. The custodians comment that the Grey Knights are just the next step in defense of the Imperium, as in they are what can protect the Emperor from beyond, where the Sisters of Silence are more a protection for the custodians. The Grey Knights will protect the Emperor. It's also one of the few chapters of Space Marines the custodians actually care about. So, granted, that comes from one source and one particular custodian. So, again, grain of salt.
I was a Grey Knights player. I actually have a Grey Knights army. 5th edition, I played a lot of Grey Knights stuff. I had that army for a very long time.
What's crazy is you probably have the most current army for Grey Knights because they haven't updated them.
Oh, I don't have that army anymore. I actually, when I was working at Games Workshop headquarters, you could buy models by weight rather than by cost.
Oh my god!
And all the Grey Knights were metal, so I just got a big old bag of the original Grey Knights and just put it down on the scale and bought them by weight. And it was incredibly cheap. You can actually see a squad of my painted Grey Knights in White Dwarf number 300, if you're curious.
Oh, that's actually really cool.
Yeah.
Wait, I have that White Dwarf.
Well, then you could find my. I'm not particularly good. Don't look at it and be like, oh my god, because it's not.
I'm gonna put it on Lorebeards. We're gonna criticize it.
Go for it. It was a long ass time ago. All right. So yeah, where was I? So the Grey Knights show up, and
they have force weapons. Force weapons are amplified by the user's psychic powers. All Grey Knights are psychics.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Thank you for the summary.
Yeah.
So the force of Grey Knights arrive on the battlefield. They teleport into the heart of the demonic horde. They confront Angron. There's a catastrophic battle, huge slaughter on both sides. What you really need to know is that Angron was banished back into the warp at a great cost.
Who banished him? You know who it is.
Go for it.
It's Kaldor Drago.
Some sources say it was a young guy called Hyperion.
Yeah.
Hyperion. I'm like, I don't. Was it Kaldor Drago? I don't know.
Apparently, Kaldor Drago did fight him, and then Kaldor Drago was dragged into the warp, kicking and screaming, and was cursed forever to be within the warp. But that also, there's other lore sources that say that it wasn't him. So whether or not it was him or wasn't him is not something that the Grey Knights want anyone discussing. They'll just kill the person that's talking about it.
Kaldor Drago is also in our strongest Psychers of 40k episode. It was a tier list. So
where did he rank?
He was pretty high. He was definitely stronger than Ezekiel, and I think him and Mephiston were on par, if I remember right.
Yeah, I would give that because Kaldor Drago and Mephiston both had the reputation of your opponent gets an extra 500 points if you bring them.
So yeah, the key thing you need to know is that Angron was banished back into the warp. Many of the Grey Knights were killed, and the Space Wolves then launch their counteroffensive. They annihilate the leaderless Chaos forces, and then we get the Months of Shame. The Months of Shame! Alexis, do you know about this?
Okay, look. The Months of Shame are what happens when those pesky Grey Knights keep pointing out that the civilians are demonically possessed. And I'm just trying to have my demonically possessed civilians go to other worlds so I could sacrifice those worlds. And those pesky Grey Knights keeps finding them and killing them. But don't worry. The Space Wolves and the Salamanders are here to protect them. No, but jokes aside, the Salamanders and the Space Wolves, more predominantly the Space Wolves than anybody else, fought against the Grey Knights and the Order Malleus because they were trying to save the civilians. Where the Order Malleus were, correctly, trying to destroy all of the civilians because they had knowledge of chaos. Some were demonically possessed, and we do actually have confirmation of that from the demon codexes. They were there at the wrong time. They saw too much they weren't supposed to. And it was either work camps until they die, or the easier option of killing all of the civilians. And the Inquisition decided that death was the easiest plan, and the Space Wolves stopped them and fought for months against the Inquisition, trying to protect the civilians and just fighting each other.
I don't want to get dragged too deep to the morass that is the Grey Knights, because they deserve their own episode. Caldor Drago was not on Armageddon. That's an urban legend. Hyperion, Hyperion is the guy who technically, quote unquote, beat Angron. He didn't actually beat Angron himself. He destroyed Angron's sword, and he earned a title called Bladebreaker because of it. But without Angron's sword, basically destroying Angron's sword is the reason why Angron was defeated, because he was then able to be banished.
He looks at his other hand, sees the axe, going home.
So yeah, again, there's I don't want to get dragged into the Grey Knights. We're talking about Armageddon, damn it. So the months of shame, yeah. The Imperial victory became a tragedy. To preserve the secret of chaos, which this is
super important.
Yeah, to preserve the secret of chaos and demon primarchs and the Grey Knight's existence, all of which the Imperium did not want to become common knowledge. The Inquisition's Ordo Malleus under Inquisitor Lord Gesme Kisneros? I don't know how to pronounce that. Kaisneros, yeah. He ordered the sterilization and permanent exile of every surviving civilian and soldier on Armageddon. The whole planet.
We're just trying to spread chaos to other worlds.
The people who had fought and died for their world, for the Emperor, were to be shipped off to Adeptus Arbites work camps, scattered across the galaxy forever. Logan Grimnar was like, hell to the no. We won't be doing that, said Logan Grimnar.
Did Logan Grimnar get his axe at this battle, or am I thinking a different battle?
I would have to look that up. I know he does have a Chaos Axe.
Yeah, with a Bloodthirster inside it.
Logan Grimnar moved Space Wolf ships into position to protect civilian escorts. Sorry, to escort civilian transports. I can speak English, I promise. And he was basically directly defying the Inquisition. He's like, no, we're going to get these people out of here. We're going to get them somewhere else. This confrontation escalated into something called the Months of Shame, which was a running naval campaign in which the Space Wolves and the Inquisition fought each other across multiple star systems. This resulted in billions of deaths because the Inquisition was carpet bombing worlds whose only crime was receiving refugees from Armageddon. Really classy move there, Inquisition.
Look, no, that's actually kind of terrible on their part.
This whole thing culminated in a full orbital battle above the world of Fenris, the home world of the Space Worlds, and Grimnar decapitated Inquisitor Lord Kisneros on the bridge of his own flagship. That sounds like an awesome. That sounds awesome to me. Frankly, I kind of wanted to see that. Bjorn the Fell-Handed, of the most ancient dreadnought of the Space Wolves, who fought alongside Lehman Russ himself, he was awakened to broker a truce between the Inquisition and the Space Wolves, because the Inquisition was like, well, if this dude fought alongside Lehman Russ, he must know what the hell he's talking about. And the Space Wolves, they got some people safe, but they also suffered devastating losses. The legacy of the First War for Armageddon is a permanent, deep, mutual hostility between the Space Wolves and the Inquisition, and that has never really healed. And the Inquisition's cover-up was so complete that even the inhabitants of Armageddon itself, today, the current inhabitants of Armageddon, they only believe that there were ever two wars.
Yep.
Not three.
But they're starting to question why the Space Wolves are walking around with totems of a war that never happened.
Face Octopus says, I heard Malkador hid the moon in the webway and that hiding it in the warp is a common fan misconception. Face Octopus, you should talk to Ricardo Andre about the size of webway passages. Because they're big enough for craft worlds. Are they big enough for entire moons, though? I say no.
Well, I mean, I mean, depending on the size of the craft world versus the size of certain moons, are we talking like an actual large moon, or are we talking a small moon?
Well, it's the moon. It's the moon of Titan. Is the moon of Titan bigger than a craft world? I think probably
I
yes.
would say so.
I think probably yes. Anyway, so that was the first war for Armageddon, the one that nobody remembers except for the Space Wolves and the Inquisition. And Angron got his ass kicked by the Granites. And then we get to the second war for Armageddon. Now we're in the actual. Now we're in the real stuff here. This is the good shit. The second war for Armageddon. Yarick versus Gazgul. In this corner, we have Gazgul Magric Thraka.
And old Baelai.
And old Baelai on the other. So 57 years after the first war, Armageddon faced a new and arguably greater threat, which was Gazgul, whose name roughly translates as Metal Skull Great Orc Ruler.
And definitely not Margaret Thatcher.
It definitely has nothing to do with Margaret Thatcher. Shut up. Why would you even think that?
Yeah, GW even said that at a press event. They definitely weren't covering their asses from legal.
Gazgul began as an ordinary goth orc on a backwater world. He was shot in the head during a raid, and a mech, an orc mech, which are these, they're orcs with instinctual understanding of technology. They just kind of, it's built into their DNA by the old ones. They just know how to make things that work in very weird and unusual ways. So this mech rebuilt Gazgul's skull with metal plates. And something in the surgery changed him completely, because after that, Gazgul believed that he was the chosen prophet of Gork and Mork, the gods of war, the gods of the orc pantheon. And he was destined, he believed, to unite the orc race in a single, unstoppable wog. Alexis, what is a wog?
So a wa, or wog, which is spelt in Imperial records with an exclamation point.
And 3 A's.
Yep, W-A-A-A-G-H, exclamation point.
Mm-hmm.
Is a war call of the orcs, but it's deeper than that. The wa is an instinctual thing that the orcs feel, and it's an instinctual thing that the orcs crave. Once orcs get to a certain amount of numbers, they start feeling this tremor, this pulse in their brain, where they just start banging and screaming and calling for war. It is their war call, and it's what unifies the orc tribes together, from warring with themselves to warring with somebody else or a different orc clan. The orcs will unify, and they will start getting smarter, and other orcs will be drawn to this. The Wa will call to all orcs within like a few dozen planets and bring the orcs in together so that they can start leaving the planet and start attacking other planets. The Wa is such a powerful psychic ability of the orcs that it calls to orcs across the entirety of the galaxy if the Wa is big enough. Wa Gazgul is so massive that it calls to all orcs. Every orc knows where the war world is now, and all orcs want to go there now. So Gazgul's massive Wa and his plan of unifying the orcs together on one world, which is his current plan, this wasn't the plan for this one. Well, it was kind of the plan for this one, but then he got bored.
It's absolutely the plan for the second war, yeah.
Yeah, but this power is it's so ingrained in the orcs that it makes them smarter, it makes them stronger, it makes them faster, it makes their powers of belief at the time work. It's what gives them the knowledge on how to build gargants. It's what gives them the knowledge to build their cars, shock attack guns, to teleported technology. All of this innate knowledge just starts unlocking for them. And it's all because some idiot just starts banging on the ground going, I want to fight. Wah! And then you just get a whole bunch of them and they're just like, wah! Let's go. And that's what the Wah is. It is a psychic call to all the orcs to fight something.
You know, arguably, Gazgul has self-fulfilled his prophecy of being the greatest prophet of Gork and Mork, because he has led the biggest orc invasions of recent memory. You could argue that the overfeed of Octarius is possibly another option, but that's the only other orc I could think of that even rivals Ghazghkull.
Yeah.
All right, so Ghazghkull, he is a remarkable orc for his strategic cunning because he often will hold himself back from personal combat in order to direct his forces. He will only engage at critical moments. For orcs, that's a very unorky behavior.
But don't tell him that. He'll crush you.
No, he will absolutely crush you. He'll crump you.
Crumping.
Ghazghkull's armada struck Armageddon with overwhelming force in the year 941 M41. So about 1,000 years, give or take. Somewhere around 1,000 years prior to the current date. Oh, we got a super chat. Ricky Chapman, we found a Dread Knight from the War on Armageddon. That's the Grey Knight's Dread Knight?
It's a baby carrier.
Yeah. Captain Zogan Badruck had it in a hidden cache along with a lot of other gubbins. As a rogue trader with friends in the Inquisition, we gave it back to them for a price.
That's about right.
Ricky Chapman is a RPG enthusiast, and he's always telling us about his roleplay game campaigns. I think that's where that story comes from. Thank you so much for the super chat, Ricky Chapman.
Can you take over for 2 seconds?
Absolutely. So the planetary governor at the time was this just total doofus named Overlord Herman von Straub. He was catastrophically unprepared, and his overwhelming pride and vanity just made things vastly worse. The Legio Metallica, which is a Titan Legion, the Princeps Prime of that Titan Legion was quoted as calling von Straub the greatest waste of flesh and bone born in the last 500 years. They did not hold back on their hate for this guy, and for good reason, which you will find out. Von Straub banished the most competent Imperial officer on the planet, which was Commissar Sebastian Yarrick, and he sent him away to the most distant hive Hades, just to get him out of the way, because Yarrick was like, "Hey, we should be getting prepared to fight orcs. We should organize our defenses. We should do all these things." And von Straub was like, you don't know what you're talking about. Get out of here. Yarrick's exile, though. We're talking about Yarrick at Hades Hive.
Oh yeah, where he got thrown to Hades Hive because he kept going, "Hey, I know what I'm doing."
Yes, exactly. Precisely that. I was just I was mentioning how the Princeps Prime of the Legio Metallica called von Straub the biggest waste of flesh and blood, bone and blood born in the last 500 years.
Yep.
And he's not wrong. So Hades Hive, the battle for this was pretty massive because Yarrick transformed that hive into a fucking fortress. He raised militias. He inspired defenders to fight with a ferocity that Ghazghkull had never encountered before. I believe this is where Yarrick was conscripting the hive gangs.
Yeah, this is where Yarrick did something that he technically can't do. But he's Commissar Yarrick, and he doesn't care about the rules. He goes way above his stations because that's who Yarrick is. He forgives all transgressions of the gangers if they fight for him and allow him and his men to use the tunnel networks that they use for all of their illicit crimes, but all crimes will be forgiven if they help.
Okay, so there is actually a legal way to do this. Okay. So commissars are part of the Officio Perfectus, which are the law enforcement, if you will, of the Astra Militarum. Okay. They are the rule keepers. Yep. And Yarrick kind of bent the rules by saying, okay, you're now part of the Astra Militarum, which means I have legal authority over you. And any crimes you may have committed in your prior life don't matter to me because that was before you were in the Astra Militarum. But now that you're in the Astra Militarum, I forgive you of all your. I will not execute you for crime.
But we also have to talk about how well he inspired them to fight alongside him. He took ragtag gangers and made them outmaneuver, outgun, and think the orc menace that was coming after him, and they were outnumbered like 100 to 1.
The orc assault broke again and again and again against the walls of Hades Hive. Yarick's stubborn and furious resistance, well, that pissed off Ghazghkull. And Ghazghkull took it very personally. The orc warlord was like, this is a matter of honor.
Do you know
this is a matter of pride.
Do you know why Yarick? Well, do you know why Ghazghkull took it so personally?
Please explain.
Yarick is a master of understanding orc like culture. He called out Ghazghkull, like directly said that he was bad at war. And he said it in the orcs' language. And the orcs were like, uh-oh, boss, he's calling you out. And he was like, oh, hell no. So Ghazghkull sent his best war boss to go and fight him.
That's right. This was a matter of pride and honor for Ghazghkull. He had to defeat Yarick. He was like, I'm not leaving until we get rid of this guy. So he just kept throwing ever larger forces and drawing away momentum from the other fronts in the war to send them in high Hades. And this is where Yarick became a fucking legend, because stories started to spread that he could kill orcs with his gaze alone. This is where he gets the name Old Baali.
Mm-hmm.
In orc culture, belief has genuine power. The orcs started to believe that their equipment works better under certain circumstances. They could go, red ones go fast, all that stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they started to genuinely fear Yarick, because if they believed it, if they believed he could kill them with his eye, there might be some orcs. Maybe he actually can. Anyway, so where was I? Yeah, Yarick embraced this legend. He eventually replaced his arm with a captured orc power claw that he ripped off of orc warlord. And the orcs already believed that he was a badass, and this just confirmed it. So do you want to talk about how we cover how he got his arm in the episode.
We did cover that. He killed Ugelhard. He ripped off his arm. He held it aloft. Some stories say that he held the head of the orc war boss aloft, but most artwork and everything shows him holding the power claw up in the air. And he says to the orcs in their language, how much of you will you sacrifice to give to me, to take me? Yeah. And he scares the orcs so much that they flee, they break, they run away.
But they do eventually win at Hades Hive. They do eventually win. That particular battle, yes, they ran away from that particular battle. But eventually, Ghazghkull did wear it down because Ghazghkull concentrated nearly his entire army against this one point. Yarick was critically wounded during a desperate evacuation action, and he survived because he was just too ornery to die.
That is his epitaph.
That's literally Yarick, is he's the old man who's too angry to die. He's got rules based on.
He gets up on a 2-up.
He just gets back up. You can't seem to put him down. Commander Dante of the Blood Angels showed up. He led the Imperial counterattack, and with Ghazghkull's forces overextended and disordered, the Blood Angels and the Steel Legion scattered the orc army. In the midst of all this, von Straub, that total waste of space, he disappeared. His vehicle was found destroyed, and the cowardly governor was presumably killed by orcs, or at least that's what everyone thought. Dun, dun, dun. And that was the Second War for Armageddon.
Yep.
Guess how long it took? Guess how long it took till the Third War shows up?
About 50 years.
57 years, which is the exact number. So First War happens, 57 years later, Second War happens. 57 years after that, Third War happens. So all three of these wars occur over a period of 114 years. Elemental Exposure, thank you for the super chat. Caiaphas Cain's first words to Yarick. Need a hand? That is exactly a Cain thing. He would absolutely do that. That's funny. I love that.
Looks at him. High five.
Oh, jeez. All right, so exactly 57 years after the Second War, Ghazghkull returned.
Oh, and Yarick was retired during the first War of Armageddon by force by Von Stubbs, and then he came back for the second War of Armageddon, where second war to him of Armageddon. Let's put it out that way. It's technically the third war. I know that's confusing, but it's the third war on Armageddon. It's the second war for Armageddon that the Armageddon Steel Legion is aware of. But yeah, and Yarick was again retired. Like he's old, but something stirred in him. He was just like, and he knew that it was coming. He somehow knew the orcs were coming, and he gathered his forces to counterattack them before they even showed up, which is really cool. And it also leads to the fan theory that Yarick actually is connected to the Wa, which might be sustaining him.
So yeah, the third war. So the first war is the war that Engrod shows up, gets banished, nobody remembers it, leads to the Months of Shame. It's a major part of the Space Wolf story. Second war for Armageddon. This is where we get Yarick and Gazgul. They get introduced. They have their big face off that ends with Gazgul getting kicked off the planet, but Yarick gets his arm and all this stuff.
According to the orcs, the Beakies showed up and it became boring, and he had to gather a bigger Wa. Gazgul was defeated and he left.
The third war for Armageddon, though, this is where a lot of really awesome shit happens. Now, not that Yarick and Gazgul aren't awesome. Not that Dante personally leading the second war counterattack isn't awesome, but there's even more awesome things. This is where it really gets good, yo.
Also, I do want to talk about something cool that happened during the first and second war of Armageddon. The ones that are referred to as first and second war, not the first war that involves the demons. Tushan of the salamanders is also introduced. And it took them, I think, 15 years to make his model? And he was a big player in all of this too.
Well, you got Tushan, you got
Vulcan.
Well,
there's Vulcan a lot. Hestan, more specifically.
Vulcanistan, yeah, not the Primarch.
Not the Primarch.
Anyway, the salamanders are a very small part of the Armageddon.
They protected the people. I think that's important to mention. I love salamanders lore.
Fair enough. So this time, the third war for Armageddon, Gazgul brought the largest orc Wa ever assembled in at least since the War of the Beast. He was reinforced by, guess who? The Great Despo of Dregruk, Urgok the Unstoppable, and the Overfiend of Octarius, who we've mentioned before.
Yeah.
The Overfiend of Octarius helped out in the third war for Armageddon, which is amazing. So
I do want to talk about how Gazgul got these guys. He went around and beat them up. He went around and was just like, I challenge you for your Wa. Okay, I'll fight you. Let's have him. And then Gazgul beat the crap out of him, moved on. Beat the crap out of him, moved on. Beat the crap out of him. He's like, I'm the warlord. You're war bosses. You're beneath me. And they were like, oh, dang, he added a whole new word. We didn't know we could do that.
So on one side, you have 4 massive orc armies that are all combined under the command of Gazgul. On the other side, you've got over 25 Space Marine chapters. You've got dozens of Astra Militarum regiments, several Titan legions. This is a massive, massive, massive fight.
I wonder if we could find all the names of all of the chapters involved.
Well, I'm going to talk about at least one of them. Well, we're going to talk about at least 2 of them in this. Well, 3. We're going to talk about 3 of them. There are 3 big moments of Space Marine chapters we need to talk about. But anyway, the opening moves. There's this brutal opening strike where the orcs destroy Hades Hive. That's their first thing they do, is they fucking get rid of Hades Hive. They're like, fuck that place in particular. It's gone.
I do want to point out that this is actually way more impressive than a simple orbital strike.
No, it is. It's awesome.
Hades Hive has some of the strongest shielding that you can get, because most Hive cities have a void shield around them. Hades Hive had 2 or 3, and he blew it up. He destroyed the entire Hive. it's crazy because the Hive City is 9 miles tall and then several miles underneath the ground, and he blew it all up.
And he did it. He deep impacted it because he threw an orbital asteroid bombardment at it until it was gone. This was revenge. This was revenge for his defiance during the previous war. And that was just the opening hours. That literally was just the first few hours. Then you come to the most famous engagement of the Third War, the Siege of Hive, Hell's Reach.
Yep.
Now, who's at Hell's Reach, Alexis?
Well,
there's a whole show based on this called Hell's Reach.
That's the Black Templars and Commissar Yarrick, along with the Space Wolves. They were there as well.
But who was in charge of the Black Templars?
That was High Marshal Helbrecht.
No.
Was it Helbrecht?
No. It was the Reclusiarch himself, Merrick Grimaldus.
Oh, it's Grimaldus, yeah.
Yeah. And guess how many Black Templars he brought with him?
Isn't it like a few thousand?
It's only 100.
What?
Grimaldus and 100 Black Templars. And they held that hive against millions of orcs. Brutal, unrelenting urban combat for 2 months. Every street choked with bodies. Every hab block a killing ground. It was an absolute bloodbath.
You could call that a slobber knocker.
There's a very, very good novel called Hell's Reach, written by Aaron Dembski Bowden. Highly, highly, highly recommend it. Please go read that if you're at all curious about this.
There's also a fan animation for it too. That's absolutely incredible.
And it's based on the novel, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
So yeah. At the climax of the battle, the orcs field out their colossal orc war gargants called Godbreaker.
It's such a good name.
I mean, holy shit. And it was destroyed by an Imperator Titan, which is the biggest, most badass Imperial Titan of them all. But during this, the Temple of the Emperor Ascendant was destroyed, and it crashed down, buried Grimaldus and all the defenders of the city. The next day, Grimaldus digs himself out, and he is alone, bleeding from a dozen wounds. He is carrying the temple's sacred relics in his fists. The banner of the Emperor Victorious, a column from the main altar, and the blessed water from something called the Stop of Elucidation. And because he recovered all this shit, by the way, his model had all these things. All these items were actually carried by servitors behind him when you had his model. It was really wild. But his survival and the recovery of these relics, they reinvigorated all the defenders and earned him the title, the Hero of Hell's Reach.
I found the list of every Space Marine chapter and every force involved.
Okay, let's hear it.
Okay, I'm going to try to do this quickly. So, for Space Marine chapters, there was estimated 50,000 Space Marine chapters. The Angels of Fire had 7 companies. The Angels of Redemption, 4 companies. The Angels of Vigilance, 6 companies. Angels for Fire, 8 companies. Black Dragons, 9 companies. Black Templar, 3 Crusades. The Armageddon Crusade, the Hell's Reach Crusade, and the Salmus Crusade. I think they showed up later. The Blood Angels, 1 company. The Celebrands, 10 companies. The Celestial Lions, 10 companies. They fielded their entire chapter, by the way.
We're going to talk about the Celestial Lions.
The Exorcist, 12 companies.
Hey, that's not Codex compliant.
The Fire Angels, rough estimate, 6 companies. Flesh Terrors, 5 companies. Howling Griffins, at least 2 companies. Immortal Hearts, 2 companies. Iron Champions, 7 companies. Iron Knights, 1 company. Marines Malevolent, 2 companies. Minotaurs, at least 1 company, which is weird because this isn't a time they deployed their entire force.
Yeah, that is weird.
Yeah.
Kind of makes you wonder if that's accurate or not, because remember it is. Could this be a typo? Could it be like something the administrator got wrong? Could it be the High Lords of Terra meddling and saying, "Oh no, it's just 1 company, it's fine"?
The Mortifactors, 10 companies, their entire chapter. The Omega Marines, 9 companies. The Raptors, not to be confused with any other Raptors. These are just the Raptors. 5 companies. The Red Scorpions, 1 company. The Reflectors, 10 company. The Salamanders, 6 companies. The Silver Skulls, which I actually really like this chapter. The 7 companies. The Sons of Gilliman, 6 companies. Space Wolves, 5 great companies, which we don't know how many Marines that is. The Storm Giants, 5 companies. Storm Lords, 2 companies. Subjugators, 1 company. White Scars, 3 Brotherhoods. We don't know how big those are. And then finally, the Widowmakers, at least 1 company. For the forces of the Imperial Guard, there's so many. There is way too many. It's all of them. Hey, the Salvar Chem Raiders are here.
Kim Dogs? The Salvar Kim Dogs?
No. Chem Raiders. It's a different one.
I feel like these records are probably not
because the Chem Dogs are just above them.
Really? Okay, there's a separate unit. Okay, that's interesting.
For Sisters of Battle, we have the Martyred Lady and Argon Shroud. For Mechanicus, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Scutari are also here. Venatorum, Tempestus, Metallica, Magna, Invotia, Ignum, and Demilogis, Goliath. That's kind of a weird name for Adeptus Mechanicus. Sure, why not? Assassinorum, classified. Otoxenos, Deathwatch Kill Team showed up. Sabatorum agents showed up. I don't even know what the hell those are.
Yeah. They're fun.
And then Imperial Navy assets, Sons. There's a ton of stuff there.
Well, the reason why I say that some of these records may not be entirely accurate is not because the books were not because the codexes were written wrong or the lore in the actual physical books was written wrong, but because the Imperium famously gets shit wrong in its own records. Like, that is actually part of the lore of the Imperium. The Administratum is not entirely they get stuff wrong a lot. They misfile things. Also, with the Inquisition and the High Lords of Terra possibly being involved in this, there could have been redactions or changes made to any of these things. But that is what we believe to be true, is that those guys were there.
Yeah. Now, the one person I can tell you with certainty was there, Commissar Yarrick. There's also a really funny moment where I think it was a Howling Griffin chapter dude is standing at the Hololith, and Yarrick is speaking. And Yarrick is in a room filled with Space Marine chapter masters and like the higher ups of Space Marines. And he's talking to them and they're listening to him. And this guy comes in, I forget what chapter, please forgive me. And he insults Yarrick, like, why is this human sitting here or standing here? And Yarrick glares at him and the Space Marine has to take a step back because he's scared of Yarrick. Oh, I love it.
Well, Yarrick is a legend. And yeah, the Space Marines respect him because he's an absolute freaking legend. The Officio Sabatorum, there's not a lot of lore about it, but what we do know is that they are a mysterious group that focuses on sabotage rather than assassination. It's a very obscure imperial institution, and we know very little about them.
There's apparently some Necron stuff on there too, but whatever.
All right, so let's talk about the Celestial Lions really quick, because they did bring their entire chapter.
Yeah, which is kind of crazy. Now, I don't know much about them, unfortunately.
Well, this is not a lore video about the Celestial Lions, so I'm just going to say they're a Space Marine chapter and leave it at that. They are largely Codex compliant. But they suffered a very unique injustice during the Third War for Armageddon. While they were fighting in the Mannheim Gap, their officer corps was systematically picked off by Inquisitional snipers. They were assassinated because the chapter had publicly criticized the Inquisition's actions during a previous campaign.
Yeah, that's about right.
By the end, nearly all the veterans and their leadership were dead. The secret execution of this Celestial Lions by the Inquisition in an active war zone is a very dark footnote in this Third War for Armageddon. And I just wanted to bring it up because holy shit. Talk about your friendly fire. Watch out for the Inquisition. Don't criticize the Inquisition, boys. That's the lesson here.
I found the Necron involvement in the Third War of Armageddon.
Okay.
It's just there was a Necron tomb, an ancient pyramid remains, and it was all in stasis. But there were Necrons there. They weren't active, but they were there.
And now I must tell you the tale of Captain Tycho.
Yep. Nasty orc snipers. Yep.
So Tycho was actually at both the Second and Third Wars. And his name is Captain Erasmus Tycho. He was a rising Blood Angels officer in the Second War, and an orc weird boy maimed him with a psychic attack. He had to wear a Phantom of the Opera mask, basically, to kind of cover the disfiguring scars of this attack. It basically left one side of his face frozen in a rictus grin, and he had to wear this mask, but it was gold, which, you know, Blood Angels love gold masks. They just do. Yeah. This was a demi mask. It was a Phantom of the Opera type mask. This trauma left very deep, bitter scars on young Captain Tycho. He had some serious bitterness and hatred within him for the orcs, and it started him on a very long, very slow slide into a famous flaw in the Blood Angels gene seed called the Black Rage, which is where they become frenzied berserkers, believing that everyone they fight is Horus, because they're reliving the final moments of their Primarch Sanguinius, who died to Horus's blade at the end of the Horus Heresy. So by the time Ghazghkull returns for the Third War, Tycho goes back to Armageddon, and his mind finally breaks. He's like, he succumbs to the Black Rage. He joins the Death Company. The Death Company is where they put all the guys who have succumbed to the Black Rage in the Blood Angels, and they form them into this big unit of berserkers, and they're led into battle by chaplains, because chaplains are the only ones that they'll even slightly listen to. So he was the captain of the Third Company of the Blood Angels, but now he's this in the third war for Armageddon. He's just a ravening madman. And the Death Company, which they said only one company was there, so maybe it was just Tycho and his Death Company. We're not sure. But they're thrown into the fiercest fighting around Hive Tempestora, which is another one of the big cities on Armageddon. And they spearheaded all these basically suicidal assaults into the Greenskin lines. It was said that Tycho fought with a fury like that of Sanguinius himself. He took numerous grievous wounds as he pushed forward into the heart of the orc positions. And in the climactic moments of that fight, he reached the orc bulwarks, his golden mask torn partially off of his face. He launches this final vengeful charge into the horde, and he's overrun and slain by masked orcs, dying in close combat on the ramparts that he was trying to take. But this brutal attack did shatter the defense of Tempestora. It opened the way for the Blood Angels and the Astra Militarum to gain control of the bulwarks, stabilizing that whole part of the planet. In death, they said that Tycho found some sort of redemption because his twisted features were serene as he laid on the battlefield. There was no trace of the disfigurement that had caused him so much pain and suffering. Or at least
was that really him? Dun,
that's
dun.
That's what the Apothecarian of the Blood Angels say. That according to the apothecaries, his face was restored, and he became one of the very, very few named Space Marine characters with a model.
Yes, strictly with a model.
To have an explicit canon death. And he's remembered as a tragic figure who was once groomed to succeed Dante. He was a big deal. Tycho, in second edition, Tycho was a big deal. He had his own model. He was, there were stories about him. He would show up at battle reports. And in third edition, they decided to kind of have him die. I think they were trying to establish the stakes were high on Armageddon, and this was one way to do it, was to kill off a named character that everyone knew. Mm-hmm. And his model was actually kind of neat. If you ever want to go check it out.
Yeah.
Captain Tycho, RIP, you were a real one. He was pretty awesome. Yeah,
Oh,
and
I did find something. The Axe of Mordecai comes from Armageddon, but it comes from a Chaos Champion. We don't know any more lore than that, really.
oh, that's where he got the axe.
Yes,
So Logan Grimnar got his Chaos Axe from the first war for
Armageddon.
Armageddon. From the first war.
Well, it just says Armageddon. I'm assuming with Chaos Champion in the title,
I
he got
mean,
it from that war.
the
Yeah.
orcs were not wielding Chaos Champions, so I'm guessing he got it the first war. It seems that's the only one we know he was at. So I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure it might be the
exactly.
first war. But who knows, right? Like, I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
there's a lot of mystery around that. And yeah, I found some images of Captain Tycho. I do want to show him off because he's a dude. He's a bro.
I had this model.
I don't think he had two models. I think he just had one model that was painted differently.
Yeah, you either painted him Death Company or gold.
So that's what I think. Let me just get this image up here. Here we go. And in big and enhance. Okay, let me show this for anybody who's watching.
Why is it still all blurry?
That is Captain Tycho right there in all his glory. Gold armor, Phantom of the Opera mask. He had a combi melta. He was actually I kind of like that model. I'm a fan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he had two profiles. Rush, you're right.
I do love how insanely big his gun is.
That's a hoss of a combi melta. That is a hoss indeed.
That is a massive gun. Also, back when Blood Angels had nipples.
Right. This was they had nipples all the way through what, 8th
until
edition?
the most recent models.
Right. So all the way through 10th edition.
Yeah. 10th edition, they got the new models and they lost the nipples. Rip nipples.
This was, of course, a reference to Batman Forever, I think, or Batman and Robin had the bat nipples.
Oh, I have no idea.
One of the Joel Schumacher Batman films had bat nipples, and this kind of was their way of doing it. Or alternatively, you could look at it. No, that's pretty much where it comes from. I'm pretty sure. It's like,
we do know that historic show armor had nipples as well and giant cod pieces.
Oh yeah, thankfully we don't have those in 40K.
But you don't want giant cod pieces in 40K?
I would prefer not to, actually. Yeah.
What?
Not a fan.
Taking away all my fun.
All right, so that is mostly what happens in the Third War of Armageddon. Do you have more you'd like to say, Alexis, about the Third War of Armageddon?
Checking through everything because I took a little bit of notes. I sometimes do that. I mean, the big thing is like there was some chaos during the Season of Blood.
The Season of Blood. Yeah, well, I think that's the new one, isn't it?
Well, the Season of Blood is during the Third War.
Okay.
Which is the Second War. God, that's so confusing. But the Third War of Armageddon, during the Season of Blood, there were Chaos, Cultists, and Ingron came back.
Right. There's the Season of Fire.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'll have to talk about this. So there were places on Armageddon that were considered uninhabitable. They were called the Fire Wastes or the Deadlands. There were the sludge seas, things like that. The orcs in the Third War of Armageddon, they landed everywhere that people thought they couldn't do anything. They had submarines. They had orcs were able to survive in places that humans couldn't. So all these surprise landings kind of gave them a foothold that had been unanticipated. Hive Tempestora was actually taken over, I should say, by orc submersibles. I love the idea of orcs in submarines. Just, oi.
I love
that. Right up the periscope.
I love that the old artwork for it has a window that's just rolled down. Like, of course they do that to lower their ships underwater. That'll always make me happy.
We talked about the Battle of Hell's Reach. there was a 10-day battle between over the Diabolus factory complex, and this was Titan legions fighting Gargants. This was one of the biggest they call them god engines or engines in 40k. So one of the biggest engine wars that has been in Imperial history was over the Diabolus factory complex. Not the biggest, but one of the biggest. We talked about the Celestial Lions and all the catastrophic losses. We talked about Tycho. So at the end, Ghazghkull withdrew from Armageddon. He said, "Okay, I'm done." It was a grim stalemate, and you know more about this. Why? I believe he had a vision, didn't he? Ghazghkull said, yes. "I have a vision from Gork and Mork."
The Great Green spoke to him, and he was told to go off world. And he went to Golgotha. Where was it? Was it Golgotha? And Yarick pursued him. I think it was Golgotha, right? Yeah. I keep saying that, and I know it's connected to this, and I keep forgetting where it is. But Ghazghkull does leave Armageddon because he is called by the Great Green to go and do something. He goes to Golgotha, and Yarick actually pursues him at this point. Yarick does ask the Black Templar to send him some aid. They send him very little, and they send him a lot of very inexperienced warriors to fight alongside him. Ultimately, Yarick gets captured. He gets enslaved by the orcs because Ghazghkull looks at him and just goes, "Oh, he's just a puny human. Damn it. I thought he was actually a great warrior." Then Yarick organizes a prison escape with all of the slaves that the orcs have taken. Yes, orcs take slaves. And they led a revolt, which ultimately had all of the slaves but him killed. Every single human was killed except him. Ghazghkull, who was watching this whole thing, was so impressed that he surrounded him by his entourage, his bully boys, as they're known, to escort him honorably to Ghazghkull himself. Ghazghkull had a Arvis lighter waiting for him with probably the most scared Imperial Navy officer in the history of forever, or it was just an orc. I love to think that it was actually just an orc in there and just like, I could fly.
Where you want to go? No, it was probably a really terrifying.
For Sebastian Yarick.
I'm pretty sure he's a terrified Imperial Navy guy.
Yarick and Ghazghkull have an exchange, which is boils down to what is this? Some kind of trap? And Ghazghkull replies with, "No, good enemies is hard to find." And he gives him the term which means frenemies. It's a really, really, really honorable term in the orc language. And they also adopt Yarick as one of their symbols. So the orc language, the like hieroglyphic / actual language that they have, includes the word Yarick, which I think is super interesting. It has a glyph for Yarick. Yarick then returns, and he brings a fleet to Golgotha. They fight. Golgotha is taken by Yarick alongside the Adeptus Mechanicus. And the Adeptus Mechanicus use an Ordinatus to actually destroy most of the orcs and destabilize the planet. And the Ordinatuses are always like, whenever they're brought up in the lore, they're like these super powerful god engines that destroy entire planets. And then you actually look at them and they're just kind of not that impressive. That war went back and forth, and then eventually Ghazghkull just left. Like, he teleported away. They were pursuing him and he just disappeared. And they were like, wait, he had no teleporters, no nothing. It was literally the Great Green called him somewhere else, and he just teleported away along with some of his fleet. They destroyed the remnants and returned to Armageddon.
Okay, there's not a word specifically for Yarick, but there is a orc word that they use to refer to Yarick with.
Yeah.
It's the word Grod, which means best enemy.
And yeah, that's it.
May also mean greatest love.
Yep.
Because orcs love fighting and they love strong enemies. So Grod is the closest thing to the human concept of love. It is an irrational fixation on a particular person that makes you do stupid things.
It's terrific.
It technically it means both best friend and favorite enemy.
Now, here's where some newer lore kicks in.
Wait. We got other stuff we got to talk about too.
Yep.
Sorry, what were you pointing to?
Oh no, go ahead.
I was just gonna call out really quick. Rush is talking about Tycho's weapon is called Blood Song. It's a relic. It's a relic combi melta. That's why it's so damn big. It is built for precise and high intensity range fire. It's basically a marksman's combi melta, which is pretty cool. It's artificer crafted. Good.
I think later on that would be called a melta rifle, because I think the melta rifle has some lore that states that it's close in design.
Right. I need to briefly talk about the Season of Fire, which was actually the second. That's part of the second War for Armageddon, not the third. And the Season of Fire is what they called the battles around the doomed hive city of Tartarus, and it's part of a novel called Season of Fire. So you can read all about that if you want. It's basically the Steel Legion and the Sisters of Battle and the Blood Angels, and they're fighting orcs, but it is not a heroic, triumphant story. It is a very bleak, desperate story with terrible decisions. And the reason why it's called Season of Fire is because Armageddon is burning. The orcs have set everything on fire. It's collapsing. The defenders are fighting to the last. Season of Fire is just it's a name for the conflict around the hive city of Tartarus. Now, the Season of Blood, I did confirm this. It is the post Third War battles. Okay, so it is not part of the Third War for Armageddon.
Ooh, that was sour.
And we definitely need to talk. We need to go back a little bit because we need to talk about our old friend Hermann von Straub.
Yep.
Now, last week we saw Hermann von Straub. He had vanished after the Second War for Armageddon. Reason why he had vanished was because Dante found him and put him into confinement. Basically, how do I put this? Dante kind of put him under house arrest. And by the time of the Third War, von Straub had escaped his confinement. This is one of the few times where Dante fucked up. Dante's an excellent commander. He's the regent of the Imperium Nihilus for a reason. He's trusted by Gilliman. Dante is a serious badass who very rarely makes mistakes. But this time, Dante fucked up because von Straub got out and resurfaced on Armageddon. And this time, von Straub is like, screw you guys. I'm working for the orcs.
Yeah, because that never backfires.
No, for real. He rallied all the nobles and all the elite, the high hoity-toities of Armageddon and said, we are going to rebel against the Imperium. I have the divine right to rule Armageddon, and the orcs will restore me to power.
So, did you know that in the Apocalypse for 6th or 7th edition, there was an Apocalypse formation of Von Stubbs and a whole bunch of knobs?
Yeah, the knobs, which are representing all of the high hoity-toities that he got in touch with. His uprising, however, was crushed. Von Straub was captured and executed. In some accounts, he was executed by the 13th Penal Legion, also known as the Last Chancers. We should do a whole episode of the Last Chancers.
Yeah, we really should.
But he's remembered in universe as one of the worst governors in Imperium history. A waste of flesh. His cowardice, his self-importance, and his treachery cost millions of lives on Armageddon.
Mm-hmm. It's really funny, though.
Governor Bina, why the orcs? I mean, that's a damn good question. Why would you imagine the orcs would put you back in power? Von Straub is an idiot. He is a absolute dumbass. That's really the best way I could put it, is that every time he made a decision, he picked the absolute worst one.
Yeah, he kind of did. And not even kind of. He tried to use nuclear weapons against the orcs, and the orcs just kind of took it. And we're like, okay, we can now use these.
So that brings us to the end of the Third War of Armageddon. It was a narrow Pyrrhic Imperial victory, though fighting never really stopped because orcs are still running around on Armageddon because orcs will pop up anywhere that they've been until you kill them all with fire. You have to burn them out.
Mm-hmm.
But Ghazghkull was like, okay, I'm out. This is not a good fight anymore. I've got my dream of the great wog of the galaxy. Gorka Morka speaking to me. I have a vision. And Commissar Yarrick and High Marshal Helbrecht, this is where Helbrecht comes in. Helbrecht and Yarrick get together, and they're like, okay, we are going to lead a crusade to find and get rid of Ghazghkull forever. And they take off. So Yarrick is basically, what's the best word to use here? Adopted by the Black Templars?
Yeah.
Kind of a mascot in a lot of ways. I mean, he's respected. He's very deeply respected. And the Black Templars, they consider Armageddon, to some degree, holy ground. And so they're like, okay, we're going. And they, this is, after this point is when orcs start to look at Armageddon as even more special, even more sacred than before. A kind of orc Valhalla, if you will. Mm-hmm. It is where you will always find a damn good fight, is Armageddon.
Which unfortunately was directly caused by, everyone's involvement. Because if the Imperium let them take Armageddon and destroyed the Hive's output, they probably could have used all the resources that they used on Armageddon to just bolster all of the worlds around it and then eventually just take him back Armageddon once the major orc threat left. Which
so
I always find funny.
Now we get to the salamanders, by the way.
Yes.
After the Third War is where we get the salamanders on Armageddon, because this is called the Season of Blood. The Season of Blood. Sunday. Buy your tickets for the Season of Blood. You'll buy a ticket for the whole sea, but you'll only need the edge. Also, there will be monster trucks after.
And you're always in the splash zone.
This is when we get to the Fall of Cadia and the opening of the Great Rift. The Cicatrix Maledictum splits the galaxy in half. We have a whole episode on the Fall of Cadia. That was our season finale, season 1. So go check that out. But basically, Armageddon was transformed into something almost unrecognizable by this event. The warp storms were cutting off reinforcements from both sides. The orcs couldn't get there. The Imperium couldn't get there. This era is called the Noctis Eterna, or the galaxy-spanning period of darkness. There's a lot of terms for it. I call it the Era Indomitus, I think is what we've all settled on, I think is what we call it. Anyway, so when these warp storms finally cleared up and the reinforcements for both sides got there, they found the planet had been invaded by a third faction, orcs, Imperium, and now demonic legions of Khorne and Tzeentch. Hey, guess what?
Khorne, Tzeentch is back.
Brain and Brawn.
Yep, here comes Angron.
And the forces of Khorne and Tzeentch, by the way, are fighting each other as much as they're fighting the orcs and the Imperium. So it's actually a 4-way battle at this point. Four factions struggling for control. So
is it bad that I want all of this added to the somebody needs to make a mod for the Armageddon game to put all of the factions in there so I could fight against Khorne.
Right.
Or Khorne demons, sorry. And world eaters.
Now I said earlier that Armageddon was almost unrecognizable. That's because fully half the planet was turned into a hellscape. Mm-hmm. A whole hemisphere of Armageddon. And the laws of physics are suspended. There's warp energy merging with the ruins of the hive worlds, and the hives and the planes, and it is turning half of Armageddon into a demon world almost. It is reported that in their desperation, orcs and Austrian military forces in that side of the planet are fighting side by side to survive. Think about that for a minute.
So there is a story, and I for the life of me, I can't remember where it is, but I swear to you, I found this at one point. There is an orc that saves a human child because the human child is in the way. Like, the orc comes running out of cover, grabs the human child, and Inquisitors are watching this, and they're like, oh my god, it's going to eat the child. And then it just throws the kid out of the way and just starts shooting. And it's...
So
this is also in the same story where an orc tactician, mind you, is standing at a hololith with Imperial commanders, and the orc is just making tank noises as he moves the thing back and forth.
So according to this, the truce between the orcs and the Imperials did not last. It was just like, we have to fight to survive. But this is when the salamanders arrive with Tushan, and they halt a demonic ritual that would have summoned Angron back to the planet.
And just for those of you that don't know, this is prior to Angron being a model. This is also prior to Angron getting that weird ability where he can keep coming back every 88 years or something like that, or every 88 blah, blah, blahs, where Corrin made it so that he can keep coming back after being banished. Well, he didn't make it. Somebody else did. I can't remember the exact reason, but Angron can now just keep coming back after being banished.
So this is the Season of Blood. Basically, the Season of Blood is like a period. It really just marks the period between the Third War of Armageddon and the event, what we will have now, the Fourth War for Armageddon, the upcoming Operation Imperator, which we will talk about in a minute. But during the Season of Blood, you have all these orc war bands and counterinsurgents, and the Imperium's trying to clear the planet. There's all these raids and mini campaigns. It's not a big war. It's not just like one big war. It's a lot of little conflicts. And the post-war era of Armageddon is indistinguishable from the war era. It's called the War World because it's been fighting, I want to say like 100. It's been a long goddamn time, decades, if not more than that. And it's a bloody, obviously, Season of Blood. What am I saying, Ross? It is a long and savage aftermath era. And
it's very bloody.
It turns Armageddon from a planet that gets invaded every 57 years to a planet that is constantly at war. This is where the War World not only becomes this nickname, it's a actual description.
Mm-hmm.
There's no Black Library novels for this, as far as I'm aware. I think it's just sort of said to have happened, and the Imperium cycles guys in and out to deal with things. The Steel Legion, the Salamanders, the Black Templars, and these wars just don't end. Okay, they don't. It's a long grind. It's basically it's a version of Space Vietnam, or Space Ukraine, if you will. And yeah, there's purges of hive cities, and the orcs are sending out these hunting parties, and they're being hunted in return. It's a nasty period, but there's very little of note that occurs beyond the fact that it exists. So I just wanted to cover that. And the big thing that happens is they stop Agrod from returning.
Yeah.
And Ricardo says that is why the Steel Legion is practically dead, much to our hates.
Yeah. So I personally don't think that GW wanted to revive the Steel Legion. And I have several reasons for that. One, because of their symbology. A red lightning bolt on a shoulder, is not great with a gas mask and a brown uniform. Not exactly the best look. But they pretty much set it up that almost all of them are dead. Like, they are almost all gone. And even the survivors after this are going to be killed.
Well, that's until we got the reveal of 11th edition, because in the reveal for 11th edition, there are new Steel Legion models, remember?
No, there are no new Steel Legion models currently. They said in an announcement that they're making Steel Legion in 2 years.
That's what I'm saying. There's new. Yeah. We got an announcement that there are new Steel. So Steel Legion is coming back.
Yes.
It's been announced. It's officially, Games Workshop has come out and said it.
Yeah, because they saw the backlash to the Deathcore Krieg and Cadians, and not Catachans being there and not Catachans getting a remake, and the whole not Catachans definitely needing it because they have the ugliest models in current history. Please remake them.
The new hotness. Now we've talked about all the old and busted. We're now talking about the new hotness. Operation Imperator. This is the new narrative, and it picks up with Ghazghkull's forces landing on Armageddon ahead of a massive renewed walk. Now, the vanguard commander of Ghazghkull's forces is one he was obscure, but now he's back and he has a cool model. Who is it, Alexis?
Oh God, what is his name? But the name just vanished. He went too fast.
Wazdaka
Gunsmack.
Yes. We have a whole episode on Wazdaka Gunsmack. Go check it out. He's a cult of speed guy. He wants to drive his bike across the universe, and he's just taking a quick stop on Armageddon.
There's also a super funny part in this whole thing about him.
Go ahead.
Okay. So Wazdaka Gunsmack was the orc that was put in charge of taking certain cities and everything. But Ghazghkull was pissed during this one. For some reason, when he saw that... okay, hang on. Set up really quickly. Prior to this, Yarrick actually found Ghazghkull, and Yarrick was fighting Ghazghkull in hand-to-hand combat, and Ghazghkull killed him. Just flat out broke his body on the ground, crushed him in his claw, threw him to the ground. He should have died. And even the Imperials that were near him reported him dead. The Bell of Lost Souls rang for him. But the Space Wolves, they picked up his body, and through gene alchemy, they remade him. His skin is now a waxy, like almost leathery wax substance. His body is being held up by a external powered skeleton. He's in constant pain and agony, so pretty much back to normal. His power claw is still a power claw. Still has his bale eye and everything. And he came back to Armageddon again, just in time to fight orcs, because Ghazghkull made it back to Armageddon, this time destined to make Armageddon the world where he finally organizes his full Wa, so that he can push past it once he organizes all of the orcs in the galaxy to push past it and destroy every enemy in the history of forever.
So Yarrick, by the way, the trailer for 11th edition for Armageddon also shows another cowardly Imperial governor telling everyone to run away, and then Yarrick kills him and says, "Nope, we're staying put." So check that out. Anyway, Operation Imperator. What is Operation Imperator? Well, I'm glad you asked. I'm so glad you asked. Operation Imperator is when Yarrick says, "Hey, Space Marines, I need help. Come fight some fucking orcs." And it is a coalition of Space Marines chapters surging to the defense of Armageddon because the old man asked for them. The Blood Angels, who have a very long history on this planet, as we've talked about with Dante and Tycho, they're like coming in. They're part of the strike force. The Salamanders are part of the strike force. The Ultramarines are part of the strike force. And returning since the first war for Armageddon, the Space Wolves are part of the strike force, alongside probably a dozen other chapters. So,
do you want the list of those chapters?
Sure, why not?
The Angels of Ratican, 5 companies. The Angels of Fury brought a whole bunch, 4 companies and a bunch of ships. The Black Dragons, back for the 3rd time, mind you. The Black Guard, that's a new chapter. The Black Templar brought 3 fighting companies, which is weird that they don't say crusades, just fighting companies. The Blood Angels, once again, only bring 1 company, but this is after the devastation of Baal. The Celestial Lions show back up with 1 company. The Crimson Fist show up with 4 companies. Finally, the Imperial Fist get involved. The Dark Krakens show up with 4 companies. The Emperor's Spears, that is Aaron Densky-Bowden's personal chapter, show up with 1 company. The Hawk Lords show up with 3 companies. The Imperial Harbingers show up with 1 company. The Iron Hands show up with 2 clan companies. The Masters of Proteus show up with 7 companies. The Marines Malevolent show up with 1 company.
Again, they're back.
Yep. The Necropolis Hawks. Necropolis Hawks.
Necropolis Hawks, yeah.
Necropolis Hawks. 3 companies. Nova Marines. 3 chapters. Back again.
Ricardo's pointing out that the Black Guard is an old Raven Guard successor chapter. So.
Yep. The Penumbral Talons, which sounds very close to something I would make, show up with 4 companies. The Raptors, again back.
Again.
3 companies. The Red Talons, 2 companies. The Salamanders, 6 companies. Back again. The Silver Skulls, again back. 1 company. The Skull Bearers, 1 demi company, so only like 50 Marines. The Sons of Gilliman, back again. 4 companies. The Sons of Aura, 1 company. The Space Wolves, 5 great companies, including their battle barge. The Storm Giants, back again. 3 companies. The Storm Lords, back again. 3 brotherhoods. We don't know what that means.
They're probably White Scar successors. I think they're definitely White Scar successors. So.
Yeah, probably, but we don't know the strength of them.
Right, that's the point you're making. I understand.
Yeah, the Subjugators, 5 companies. The Ultramarines. The Ultramarines were involved in all of them. They were retroactively put into the Armageddon game, which is still weird to me, but they only show up with 2 demi companies, which they could just combine into 1 company. So that's only 100. White Scars, 3 brotherhoods. The Order of Our Martyred Lady, multiple preceptories. This means there's multiple thousand. The Adeptus Mechanicus, Guitarius cohorts, and Metallica shows up. House Terran shows up, and House Hawkshroud shows up for Imperial Knights. Imperial Navy fleets, and then we have for the Guard, we have the Steel Legion, the Armageddon PDF, the Death Corps Kriegs, the Cadian Shock Troopers, the Salvar Chem Dogs, the Tempestus Scions.
Okay,
that's
the Ultramarines were in the Second War.
Yeah, they weren't in the first or the first.
Or third. Yeah, but surprisingly, in the Second War, they were led by Marneus Calgar, so just FYI.
Yep, and again, they're being led by Marneus Calgar.
Hey, good old Calgar.
Yep.
So we have a comment that I need to address here. Don't forget Mephiston, says Rush. I love Mephiston. I would love the Blood Angels. We're going to do a whole... I would love to do a whole episode on Mephiston. Yes, Mephiston fought in the Second War for Armageddon, and he fought at Hades Hive, in fact, which is interesting. And that's
also the time when he gets a bastion dropped on him and has to beat the... Yeah.
So he gets inducted into the Death Company because he falls to the Black Rage, sorry. And in the final assault on the ecclesiarchical building, it crumbles on top of him, buries him, and this is where, at the time, he was a librarian called Calistarius, and he was trapped there under the rubble for days, raging internally against the flaw in his gene seed. And after days and days and days underground, often described as 7 or maybe 9 nights, he manages to overcome the Black Rage, which no other Blood Angel has ever done. And when he comes out of the ruins, he is reborn. He is now Mephiston, the Lord of Death. And his psychic, his physical, and his martial strength are much vastly greater than they were before. So
the scary thing is he actually flew out of there on wings of blood.
Right, because Blood Angels do that.
Yep.
Blood Angel Librarians can do that. Blood Angel Librarian Dreadnoughts can do that.
God, I want them to bring those back. Please, just give me a Redemptor Dreadnought with a giant scythe arm and just call it that. And then give me the Death Company version of it.
So yes, thank you, Rush. I was planning to mention it and I forgot, so I appreciate you bringing that up. But yeah, Mephiston is that. So Mephiston and Tycho are both major Blood Angel characters that have action and important impact. Dante too. So three of the biggest, 3 big characters. I wouldn't say Tycho's one of the biggest, but Dante and Mephiston are definitely 2 of the biggest Blood Angel characters. Are involved in Armageddon. That's why the Blood Angels. Well, they're probably always going to come back to Armageddon. Thanks afterwards. It's become sacred ground to them too. Let's put it that way.
Also, Tushan is back. Just saying. Tushan is there.
So I said half the planet was a demon world. The other half of Armageddon is still an industrial powerhouse. It is still making stuff. Okay, this is it, the people. The Imperium is not defending Armageddon just for fun. There are really important factories on Armageddon. There are really important industrial resources on Armageddon, and they can't. Go ahead.
if I'm not mistaken, they make the most chimeras out of all Forge Worlds.
Right.
They also make variants of their war gear, like the Armageddon pattern, Basilisk, Medusa, Chimera, Sentinel, Power Pack, and no, not Power Pack, slugs and auto guns that are all unique to Armageddon.
They make tanks. They make war material, ammunition. Just it's a lot, and the Imperium's like, we need it. We really really need it. I would argue that the Mechanicus probably did this on purpose. One of the comments in chat actually earlier was like, why would they resettle the planet so quickly? I think the Mechanicus was like, we want to study all this weird shit. We're going to make sure that this world doesn't go away, and to do that, we're going to put a ton of really important factories on it, so that the Imperium will not just let it get destroyed or overrun. We'll get into that in a minute, like the theories and whatnot. But that's my thinking is probably what happened. Just a few brief things about Armageddon as a planet, as a world. In the Armageddon system, there is a planet called Chosin, obviously named after the Chosin Reservoir of the Korean War. And it is currently swarming from pole to pole with orcs.
Frost, can you take over again real quick?
Yep, absolutely. So Chosin is just wall-to-wall orcs, and it's got an unusual orbit. Like, people think it may have been, its orbit may have been altered at some point, maybe by ancient orc technology. Who knows? There's also a sixth planet called St. Joan's Dock. This is the home base for Battlefleet Armageddon. And the docks at St. Joan's Dock, which I know this is a weird way to say it, but they have they can berth the largest Imperial battleships. This is where you get the big ships. They come from here. There's a naval academy. There's command bunkers 8 miles beneath the mountains. It is St. Joan's Dock is a major Imperial Navy base. There's a place called Allendai, which is a ringed gas giant. They turned that whole thing into a minefield to deny the orc fleets from using it as a staging point. So imagine Saturn, but the rings of Saturn are not dust and rock. They're mines, space mines. On the planet of Armageddon itself, you've got Hive Volcanus, Hive Tempestora, Hive Deathmire. These are all part of what's called the Western area. Then there's the Eastern area with Hive Hell's Reach, Hive Infernus, Hades Hive, Hive Acheron, Hive Tartarus. I did say it was named after underworld things. And then there's the Fire Wastes, the Deadlands, the Equatorial Jungle. There is a dense jungle belt that separates the North and South hemispheres. It's guess what? It's full of feral orcs. This is where you get all your snake bites and your pig riders and stuff like that. There's actually a monolith of Angeron somewhere in the Equatorial Jungle, which I think is really, really cool. And also a possible Necron artifact. That may be what you were thinking of, Alexis.
Yeah, the pyramid.
There's a place called Phoenix Island, which is a major mining and refinery location, and it is where all the Thunderbolt and Fury fighter squadrons were. The Third War for Armageddon more or less wiped this thing out. Then we're not here to talk about the Steel Legion, but the Armageddon Steel Legion is its most famous Astra Militarum regiment. It is for a while they had their own army.
There we go.
Hey, there's the map. People were asking for maps. There is the map of Armageddon.
It's not the best map, but this is the most current, up-to-date map there is.
The best map.
Yeah, with the giant crease in the middle.
Right. Oh, I should probably talk about what the Deadlands were. That's a frozen southern continent. It's like Antarctica. They primarily used it for water purification. It's actually the only source of drinkable water on the planet, if I remember correctly.
They drill into it and they drink it, and that's the best. And the funny thing about it is that's actually one of the places where the orcs keep attacking, because the orcs also need the water, but they don't at the same time, maybe because they can make their own squig beer.
Yeah, what's that northern sea called? I think that's the Sledge Sea right up there at the top, right? What is that called?
Yeah, that's The Boiling Sea.
The Boiling Sea.
Yeah.
Boiling Sea, not the Sludge Sea. So the Steel Legion, they had a whole army. They had a whole faction. You could buy the models. They had they were distinguished by trench coats and gas masks, which if it sounds a lot like the Krieg, the Death Corps Krieg, well, they're aesthetically very similar. The gas masks on the Steel Legion were specifically a little more skull shaped, but that's about it.
They were definitely not a certain army.
They were
about the real world connections.
Right. The Steel Legion was well known for their armored fist tactics, where they would drive around in chimeras. Basically, they were a mechanized infantry. Because the planet had so many chimeras, they just gave every squad had a chimera, basically.
They also fielded the most Bane Blades and the most Lehman Russes in one engagement, which is really cool. Like they fielded so many. Their companies of tanks are insane.
Right. They had the legendary Bane Blade. It was a big that is produced. One of the places it is produced from is Armageddon. Mm-hmm. Again, going back to why it's such an important world to defend. Let's see here. Yeah, Steel Legion does predate Krieg. You are correct, Rush. But Krieg is this. The aesthetic is so similar, and it's so much better done with Krieg that's kind of where I was going with that. We have a whole episode on Yarrick. I think we've at least told you a little bit about who Ghazghkull is. So Grimaldus, the hero of Hell's Reach, he's one of the major characters from the Black Templars. We could do a whole show on him. He's basically their high chaplain, and the Black Templars are the most religious Space Marine chapter. They are the ones founded by Sigismund, who read Lorgar's book, the Lectitio Divinatus, and believed that the Emperor is divine. Yep. Pretty much all the other Space Marines are like, no, the Emperor was not a god. He was our father. The Black Templars are like, nope, he's God. Commander Dante, he's chapter master of the Blood Angels. So Armageddon is a place that really matters in 40K because it is kind of the essence of Warhammer 40,000. If you think about it, it is a place where the Imperium's military and industrial might is on display, even as it is consumed by war, where the nobility and the horror of humanity's defenders, they exist side by side, because you have Yarrick's heroism alongside the Inquisition's monstrous betrayal of the people and, of course, the Celestial Alliance. It's a world shaped by a secret history most of the inhabitants will never know, and that they live and die on sacred ground, sacred to the Orcs, sacred to the Blood Angels, sacred probably. I mean, you could argue that the Grey Knights or the Space Wolves probably find it, maybe not sacred. They probably find it important, though. It's very important to that chapter. It's a planet that was moved across the galaxy by an institution that serves the machine god. It is strongly believed that they keep coming back. The Orcs keep coming back to Armageddon because the world calls to them. It's the Imperium keeps defending it because losing it would be catastrophic. The cycle of blood and ash, it keeps turning, and it has for thousands of years. Well, hundreds of years at least on Armageddon, I should say. Thousands of years, because if you count Olenor, right? It's been thousands for sure.
Yeah, it has been thousands. So, are we ready to talk about the Fourth War of Armageddon?
Let's go.
All right. So the Fourth War of Armageddon kicks off with a insanity level teleportation of the entire Orc Wa, except for those lost in the teleporting. But those aren't important. Ghazghkull teleported his entire fleet above Armageddon, dropping in rocks, fortresses, everything onto the planet, even faster than he did last time. This took the Imperials completely off guard, and Yarrick had to return. Sorry, just reading my notes really quickly. Hive Tempestus, God, you know, it'd be better if I wrote full notes. That'd be so good. I wrote full sentences as my notes. Instead of just suggestions.
You got this, Alexis. I believe in you.
But okay. Now I'm like trying to read it and it's all jumbling up in my brain. But the Gazgo led his assault with a very particular new boss that just came back out. Gutsmech has returned, was Daka Gutsmech, and he was supposed to speed blitz the entire planet, and he did. He went from hive to hive, destroying everything that he could, looking for any type of supply lines that he could to damage and destroy. And when Yarick returned to the planet, him and Commissar Graves had a discussion and everything. And when Yarick made a suggestion, Commissar Graves took that like as if it was biblical. Like,
well,
you are Yarick. You know what you're talking about.
The goddamn Space Marines listen to Yarick.
Yeah. So when somebody questioned Yarick, she pulled out her bolt pistol and executed him. Also, finally, this is a commissar character that actually executes people as their first like thing, which is really weird that almost all named commissars typically don't try to kill the men under their control. Like even Yarick typically doesn't try to shoot them. He will ultimately abandon them, but he won't shoot them.
Yeah, Yarick specifically was mentioned as one who is not lenient, but he prefers not to shoot people because he needs them to fight the orcs. Then there's Gaunt, who prefers not to shoot people, and then there's Kane, who largely chooses not to shoot people. So, yeah, if Graves is the first named Inquisitor in quite a while, that's like, nope, I'm shooting everybody.
So after the Season of Blood, a lot of the Sisters of Battle stayed behind. The Order of Our Martyred Lady stayed behind with a Canoness Preceptor. The name is America. It's 100% supposed to be America. And it's a hilarious joke. And I love the fact that this one stayed behind. And Dogmata Superior Freya. Or Freya. However you want to say it, it's Freya. These are two of the newer models that just came out. Graves is such a badass. I agree with you. I see your comment there. I fully agree with you. And these were the ones that were in charge of the planet until Yarick returned. The Commissariat had to get Yarick, Graves, and a few others to the Astropathic Choirs on another hive after Gazgul came down and absolutely obliterated Hades' hive. Just gone. He then destroyed as much as he could, and he spotted the Fortress of Arrogance. And the Fortress of Arrogance was in a convoy along with Commissar Graves, a couple of chimeras, and a few other things. Gazgul orbital bombarded the Fortress of Arrogance, completely obliterating it, and assumed that that was Yarick and killed him. Yarick, knowing full well that the orc would target the biggest vehicle, hid in the smallest. He was just hiding in well, not the smallest, but he was hiding in a chimera, just going, "Ha! Called it!" They eventually get to the Astropathic Choirs, send out a distress call once again, and again, trying to bring in all of the Space Marines that they can, as well as all of the Titan Legions and everybody who will come by, including Night Households this time. One of their main targets to destroy was the Mega Teleshaka, is what it's called, which is the giant orc construction that is teleporting their fleets across the stars. Yeah, potentially through a webway, potentially through the warp. The orcs aren't fully sure, but it makes a path from one spot to the other, whether that is a webway tunnel or a warp tunnel. We're not really sure. Neither are the orcs. So the speed boss,
Wazdaka
Gutsmack was challenged. He saw this convoy and he intercepted it. But the convoy kind of knew who he was, and they started revving their engines and going as fast as their vehicles could go. And Wazdaka was like, "You're challenging me to a race." completely lost interest in what he was supposed to do and raced this individual off into the distance, which allowed Yarrick to get where he needed to go and get to what he needed to do. The orcs themselves actually took to more, again, lands that you shouldn't be able to survive in, like the deserts, the frozen wastes, the burning fields, the sludgy oceans, and they made their bases there. So again, the Imperials had a really hard time of getting to them before they could set up defenses and everything. As it currently stands, the Third War of Armageddon is still going on. There is a lot of gambits and everything happening and different missions happening. But
The fourth war for Armageddon.
Yeah, the Fourth War. Sorry, I said third, didn't I? Yeah. The Fourth War of Armageddon. There's a lot of stuff still happening. We know Legion Metallica and a ton of stuff is on the planet as it currently stands. Space Marines are doing desperate actions to try to hold as much as they can. The third company captain, no, not the third company captain. One of the captains of the Blood Angels was killed. Several characters were killed during this. The Fortress of Arrogance, rip the Fortress of Arrogance. I really thought they were going to make the Fortress of Arrogance, and then they blew it up, and I'm still mad about that. I am currently participating in one of the campaigns that they just did. I submitted one of my battles for it, and the Battle for Deathmire is currently going on. So as it stands right now, we don't have too much lore on what's happening in the Fourth War because it is ongoing. And we do know that Ghazghkull has yet to really step on the planet. So once he does, I'm really excited. So yeah, that's my quick summary of the Fourth War. There's not really much happening.
The Mega Teleshaka is pretty wild. I love it. It's a gigantic teleporter engine. It I don't think he uses webway. That's a be joking around, really. But it is a webway scale device in that it can teleport entire fleets. That's what that's I think the only thing I would say that's similar to it.
Yeah,
because it throws an orc fleet across the galaxy. Basically, it was built by Orchimedes, which is one of the guys from the Third War for Armageddon. That's kind of a mysterious orc inventor. Nazdreg Ugrab, the Bad Moon Warlord, and Ghazghkull, basically. That's it's wild. They test fired it and it blew up a planet.
I did make a mistake. Ghazghkull did actually touch down on the planet. He landed at Hades Hive after it was completely destroyed.
All right, that brings me to, I think, one of my interesting theories about Armageddon. We talked about this in the Wazdaka episode, right? We talked about like what is likely going to happen for the orcs, and one possibility is that this is where we're going to have some sort of apotheosis, some sort of ascendance of Ghazghkull, because he says he's the prophet of Gorkamork, and he has accomplished a hell of a lot. And this could be a moment where it's very likely, I think, we'll see the ultimate fate of Yarrick. I think it's very likely that Yarrick will find some sort of final end here.
I mean, maybe he's over 200 at this point.
I feel like he's reaching that point where Games Workshop needs to shit or get off the pot on Yarrick. And Yarrick and Ghazghkull need to have their final showdown. I'm willing to bet that there will be a major final showdown between Yarrick and Ghazghkull, some sort of event that will happen. And go ahead.
I have my own theories about this. So I finally think that that Necron tomb, that pyramid, is going to activate. We're going to start seeing Necrons getting involved. I guarantee towards the end of this, we're going to see demons come back. But I think this is going to be the war of all wars. I think this is going to be what brings in a good chunk of the orcs at this point into the setting and actually make them a threat once again. I think we are going to see the death of certain characters. My bet, and this is a big one, Ismarnus Calgar is going to die.
He does feel a little extraneous with Big Bobby G running around, doesn't he?
Yes. He is the current what the heck is it? Head of the war itself right now. The warlord of the planet, leading everybody.
Like a War
But
Master.
yeah, it would be really cool if he died. Like, because I can't see another major character dying aside from him.
I think it's going to be orc related. Honestly, I think they're gonna reveal some big secret about Eleanor, or the orc gods are going to show up, and we'll learn more about them. I don't know. I feel like the majority of the big reveals are going to be on the orc side, but it would make sense. And I think there's a question for Devin Urbanus is, who do we think is going to win? Who do we want to win? I
So,
think the orcs are probably going to take it.
so my whole thing is, no one is going to win. This is going to be the setting from now on. Just like how the Devastation of Baal doesn't technically have an end, though you could argue that the Blood Angels did win that one.
They did. I would. They absolutely won that one. Yes.
But then the Tyrann is just left. Like, now
that's a victory.
Yeah,
that's still a victory.
Imperial victory is a victory. But I would put it in the same category as the war against Leviathan currently, where Leviathan is the last edition's big threat. There's no technical end to that. I think it's going to go on forever. Who do I want to win? The orcs. I want the orcs to win. I absolutely want the orcs to win. I think them winning would be the best. I think the best course of action moving forward is to kill okay, this is going to be rather crazy, but I think Colgar dies and Titus is made chapter master of the Ultramarines.
Wow. That's a bold statement.
I'm calling that now.
Okay.
If not him, Grimaldus.
Well, Grimaldus wouldn't be the. I mean,
he's not as important though, right?
You're saying he's going to die?
Yes.
Grimaldus is going to die?
Yes.
I mean, that could happen, certainly. I mean, I don't know if it's likely, but it certainly could happen.
I feel like if they kill Tushan, it'll be like, oh no, that guy. Dang it.
That guy we barely know from that thing.
That guy that was in almost all of the wars that we barely really talked about.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I want the orcs to win this.
I'm going to say I want the orcs to win too. I think I think they've been fighting for it long enough.
Yeah.
And it would again establish, big stakes. It feels like the Imperium's on the back foot, and I feel like that's this. I feel like that's the Aaron Dominus is about that. It's about the Imperium getting setbacks and then having to fight back from that position. But
yeah,
I don't know. I mean, is there a victory at all? Can you have victory on a world where war is eternal?
That's an orc victory,
right? Technically, an orc victory would be a stalemate, right? It would just be endless grinding attrition.
Yeah.
Just you go there and you have a good fight. That's a win for the orcs. That would actually be a victory condition, right?
Yeah. I do think that demons are going to come back. I think Necrons are going to get involved. I think that if anybody is to die, Trazine is going to show up to pick them up. Though this war might not interest him.
Gasgul and Yarrick are pretty special. I would imagine he'd want to at least watch.
Yeah, maybe watch.
Rush, thank you for being a member for 6 months. What unit for every sub-faction? Holy shit, dude. We don't have that time. Do you want?
I'm going to assume the ones that are involved. Okay, so Space Marines, Guard, Orcs. Let's just go with that. For Space Marines, it's pretty easy for me. I want Orc veterans. Like, I don't know, maybe better looking Stern Guard. No, Vanguard, sorry. Those Vanguard look terrible. But if I'm being real, it would be cool to see some of the older stuff come back.
God, I love Aggressors, Rush. You've actually touched on like one of my favorite units is the Aggressors. Yeah, I would love to see a new mode of Aggressors with longer range weapons. That would be pretty rad.
Although, if I'm going to be real, I want the Blood Angel Psychic Dreadnought back.
The Librarian Dreadnought, yeah.
Yes, I want that back.
That would be rad as hell.
It doesn't have to be a Castafarum. I want it in a Redemptor. I think that would be really cool. I would love that. For Guard, it's the Orc Hunters. It's the like Armageddon pattern Orc Hunters. Like those guys are really cool. I think having them back would be really cool. Or the Storm Chimera. A Chimera with an autocannon.
That would be cool. I would like to see a new variant of the Hellhound.
Yeah, I could see it. Or maybe the Thunderer coming back. Or any of the Forge World tanks that are discontinued. Any of them coming back would make me happy.
Leviathan. Or Citadel Imperialis is another way to say it.
Oh, yeah. Let's get the biggest one.
Right.
For the Orcs, I kind of just want their old vehicles back. The half tracks are amazing. The kill fortresses are amazing. The big cannons, the
Weird Boy Towers.
The battle wagon with tractor beams.
Lift-a-Droppa.
Yeah, the Lift-a-Droppa. The Stompas, the Mech Boy Stompa, the custom Stompa coming back would be really nice. There's so much. Updated Grey Knights, yeah. I see.
More squigs.
More squigs, yeah.
I think we need to see more squigs on the tabletop. And I don't mean as like part of an orc model. I mean like a unit. I think that would be really, really cool.
I think there needs to just be a runt herder with a whole bunch of squigs.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that. I wouldn't mind that.
That's what runt herders do. They raise squigs as well. For Sisters of Battle, I want Dominions on motorcycles. Like, I want Sisters on motorcycles, but I want them different. I want them on cross rockets. I want them on fast bikes.
I mean, do you mean like the little teeny tiny version, or do you mean just like kind of Kawasaki Ninja style?
Kawasaki Ninja.
Okay, because they do exist that are like 3 feet long that you can actually technically ride. So,
but I want them to have like the sports bike, because Gene Stealer Cult has like dirt bikes. Space Marines have hogs. Well, Space Marines have hybrids, and Orcs have hogs. Get it? Because they ride hogs.
It's a reference to Warhammer Fantasy.
Mm-hmm. So I think getting them motorcycles would be really cool. Let's see. What else would I add? The Mechanicus would just get new types of Striders.
More named characters.
A new named character would be nice. Just put one on the planet, give them a name.
Or the brand new one, Thulia.
Yeah.
Thulia to get more lore and be on Armageddon. That would be awesome as well.
Yeah, I'm down for that.
Bring back the Secutors. Bring back more Secutors, please.
Yeah, that could be cool. But for the Necrons, because let's say they're involved. Necrons are pretty good right now, but you know what would be cool is I want the giant centipede from Forge World back. Or the pylon that shoots the giant beam, the like satellite dish they have. That would be really rad. Getting some of those.
More Death Watch.
Yeah, new Death Watch models would be nice.
I mean, I'm not biased at all when I say that, but you know.
No, not at all. Not in any way, shape, or form.
Not in the slightest.
I think that's all I can name right now. Oh, I would absolutely love if they brought in Catachans.
Ricardo says, "Are the elves involved in any way? Can we count on some Eldrad muscle?" Hey, fun fact: he's already involved.
Yeah,
Eldrad is the one responsible for the rise of Ghazghkull Maghrek Thraka. Remember that part about him getting shot in the head and they had to repair him with metal and all that? Eldrad set that up because the other guy, according to Eldrad, there was another orc warlord that was a rival, And
Yeah.
Eldred set it up so that Gazgul would be the one to rise to power, specifically to avoid getting in the way of the Eldari. So Eldred is already involved, just indirectly and very long ago.
Yeah, not exactly. He's probably just keeping his distance at this point.
But as far as I know, the Eldari are not involved in Armageddon, and probably don't want to be.
No, I don't think they want to be.
I don't see anything in it for them. Let's put it that way. Yeah, there is another theory that I wanted to throw out there. It is a fan theory that is there's possibly a little bit of value in this. The idea that Armageddon is actually that someone, quite possibly the High Lords of Terra, wants Armageddon to be an endless meat grinder because it's a proving ground for new tech. It's a way to keep the orcs occupied. Basically, this theory connects the dots of all these repeated cycles where Armageddon is just barely saved. The cover-up of the First War, the treatment of the Celestial Lions, and the willingness of the Imperium to sacrifice the people of Armageddon seemingly without end, right? That maybe the Administratum or the Inquisition or the High Lords, some elements of the Mechanicus possibly, are deliberately under-resourcing Armageddon and steering just enough reinforcements its way to keep it from total collapse. But not enough to actually win, because a stable, eternal front line benefits the Imperium by drawing everyone from the more vulnerable areas.
Okay. I like that. It also gathers the orcs all in one spot for one epic,
right?
like you could line up such a good kill shot with an Exterminatus.
Right? I mean, it feels a little too smart for the Imperium, but at the same time, it feels in character. So yeah, I don't know about this. It's definitely just a theory. There's no evidence for that. But if there were Imperial institutions that wanted to keep a permanent war zone going, there's reasons why that would make sense.
I mean, with a Canoness Preceptor America there, an Eternal War, Merica.
Canoness Preceptor America. Yeah, that sounds like that's clearly tongue in cheek. Yeah, that's definitely America.
100% just Canoness America. No, sorry, America.
So I'm gonna go ahead and give my final thoughts on Armageddon because I think we've basically plumbed all the depths, haven't we?
Yeah, pretty much. Without going too in depth on what's currently happening, which I don't want to go too deep into the Fourth War because we're only at like such a little amount inside the war itself, and I want to see when we get even more, because we know that there's the Total War game coming out, which is going to take place on Armageddon. We know that there's other books coming out that are all about Armageddon, and I'm excited to see how this campaign unfolds.
Got a super chat that's a question for you, Alexis.
Ooh.
Necromancer Kobold. Hey, this looks like did you change your name?
I think you did.
I think you did, yeah. I remember the avatar for sure. Anyway, Necromancer Kobold says, what would you do if they acknowledged the War of the Beast in 11th edition? Would you be willing to do a proper War of the Beast episode if they do?
You know what? I would. They have acknowledged that the War of the Beast is still a thing, but they don't call it the War of the Beast. They're very weird about it. They draw connections to the story, but not directly stating that it's the War of the Beast. Would I do an entire episode on the War of the Beast? I could. I don't want to, but I could. I'd have to reread all 11 books again. I'm taking a wild guess at how many books there are. I think there's like 6.
I'm sure there's a way someone could convince you to do it, but it will probably take a larger super chat.
Yes. But I don't want to read it because I view the War of the Beast as some of the worst additions to Warhammer lore ever.
That's a bold statement.
It's so dumb. That's it. I just think it's dumb.
How dumb is it, Alexis?
I don't blame any of the writers. The writers did exactly what they could with what they were given. I think the idea proposed to them was stupid. That's it.
I feel like you're holding back. Don't sugarcoat it for us. How do you really feel about the War of the Beast?
So I would rather watch the Eternals followed by the new Supergirl, followed by the fucking Borderlands movie,
Oh my
followed
God.
by Monster Hunter.
Wow.
That's how bad it is.
Wow. That is insane. Well, you heard it here, folks. She really doesn't want to, but you can probably convince her if you throw some money at her. I don't know what that amount would be, but there's probably an amount. Good Lord, that's awful. Wow.
It's so dumb.
Do you really want to torture Alexis? Do you want to see that face in an expression of pure horror? Somebody throw some money at her and we'll do it. Wow. All right.
Anyway, we got another super chat. Boop.
Ricky Chapman, we want a story with Gazgul and Eldrad meeting. Oh, that would be cool. I agree. That would.
I want a story of Eldrad meeting any named Xenos race. Because he doesn't talk to any of them.
Yeah, that would probably be true. For the record, my perception of the War of the Beast is it is a cool idea, but a bad execution.
Yeah.
That's where I
also it's the thing that set up the Imperial Fists for being the chapter that dies down to one man over and over again, because that happens twice in it.
Well, if it takes 13 books to tell the story, that's an awful lot of faffing about. That is a lot of filler, right? Like, I feel like
it is.
I feel like somebody was like, we need to sell more books. Just write.
Also, I agree with this. The new Supergirl isn't that bad. No. It's just very weird that she loses her powers 3 separate times in the course of one movie. And the whole movie is just very, very poorly done. And everyone else in the movie is acting as hard as they can, except Supergirl.
I was disappointed in it. I gave it a C-, but it's not god-awful.
Yeah. Solid 5 out of 10. It wasn't that bad. Lobo was in it.
Yeah, Lobo's actually amazing in that. I will agree with that. All right. Ladies, oh, wow. Ricardo, so the Heresy is a bunch of filler? 60 bucks? The Heresy does have some filler novels. There are filler novels, but the Heresy is a much bigger story. The Heresy is a story this big. War of the Beast is a story this big. So 60 novels to tell a story this big, I'm not like freaking out about that. But 13 novels to tell a story this big is a little much. That's all I'm saying.
I will argue that a lot of the Heresy books can just be skipped. Like a solid chunk of them can be skipped, and you won't miss too much.
I haven't read all of them. I have not. Have I read War of the Beast? I haven't read all of them. I've read some. Also, too many people named Slaughter.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Anyway, so let's final thoughts on War of Armageddon, or Armageddon as a planet, or Armageddon in general. I think Armageddon is a symbol for the fate of the Imperium overall. It is barely habitable. It is eternally embattled. It is never truly saved, just held at horrific cost. And I think it's symbolic of the Imperium itself. It is the true face of the setting. It's a planet whose story will probably never fully resolve. Like Alexis said, the true win for the Orcs is it's just constantly a war, which is the state it's currently in, I might add, because 40K itself is defined by conflicts that do not fully end. Even the Horus Heresy was not a complete end. Like, we're still feeling the effects of that. So I think Armageddon represents in the narrative of 40K the story of 40K. It is the heart of what 40K is and always will be. It is a place of only war and a grim darkness in the far future. So yeah, that's kind of my final thoughts on Armageddon. I love it. It's cool. I'm excited to see what happens in the new edition with and the Fourth War for Armageddon. Dragon Magic, neither faction is interested in. I mean, no, there's very good reasons for all the factions to be interested in it. For the Imperium and the Orcs, at least, to be interested in it.
Honestly,
And Chaos. Technically Chaos, yeah. So, yeah. What do you think? What's your final thoughts on Armageddon?
My final thoughts on Armageddon is that it's what Games Workshop needed to show that the Imperium isn't the victor. It isn't the good guy. It isn't here to protect people. It is a
the months of shame. The months of shame prove that.
Yeah, it is a rundown, nearly dead face of a setting that no matter who you are, you're going to die. And even if you manage to win, you're going to be killed regardless if you're just a normal dude. And in the grim darkness of the far future, you know, that's the whole thing. Like, no one will remember you. You are nobody. In the grand scheme of things, you are just a grain of sand in an hourglass, just dripping down and watching the Imperium slowly die. The Imperium, 8th edition, 9th edition, and 10th edition were all about buildup of hope. This is actually a callback to what Warhammer should be. It should be a grim setting where you actually see characters who are borderline evil to completely evil fighting each other. Where somebody like Gazgul looks like the good guy here because Sebastian Yarrick will abandon entire hives if it means that he can deal a death blow to the orcs. He will abandon millions of people to their deaths if it means an imperial victory. He will hand over thousands of people to penal legionnaires, to become penal legionnaires, or to be executed by Ordo Malleus if it means victory. And that's what the Imperium needs. It needs characters that show you how dark they actually are. And I love it. I love the fact that in the trailer for it, there are bodies piled on top of bodies where people are desperately trying to grab guns and shoot each other, because that's what 40K is. It is a horrible setting. You do not want to live in it. It is absolutely the worst monstrous dictatorship of all time. It is horrible to live in, on, or around Warhammer. And it's the future that I feel like we're spiraling towards, which is scary. I kind of wanted to go Star Trek, you know, but
I'd much rather live in Star Trek. Yes, please.
Yeah, just saying, we could have had Star Trek, you know, but we're going to 40K, and that's scary.
My apologies, Dragon Magic. I did miss your prior comment. You're right. Sorry. Just go ahead, please.
Oh, that was it. I think Gazgul is a great enemy because he's both comical. He points out all the flaws in the Imperium, and he himself is just as evil. Like slavery, murder, death, everything. He's all for it if it benefits him and his war.
And his religion.
Yep.
Ricardo's got an interesting comment here. He says, I personally think Eleanor is the OG homeworld of the orcs, which hence why they are always called to it and their greatest empires made in it. A testament to their ancient history that has to be denied. This is something that I would love to find out. Like, if that is true, we talked about this earlier when I said, like, you know, the great revelation. I'm hoping there will be some kind of great revelation about the orcs, about Eleanor, about the Emperor or somebody. And this would be a really cool thing to learn, that this is the OG homeworld of the orcs. That would be really rad, actually. I'd be on board with that.
I would be too.
Hey, super chat from Necro Player, as he used to be. Necromancer Kobold now is his new name. In that sense, it is a perfect setting for the new edition, following all of the new people flocking to Warhammer.
Mm-hmm. We attracted everybody with hopeful stuff and showing people big Space Marine win game. Now we're gonna show you that this isn't Master Chief.
Nice. Yeah, Krorks. If we could learn more about the Krorks, I'd be all down for that too.
Is it bad that I don't want to learn it from the Imperial side? I want just a random orc to mention it. Just like Taka just mentions it. Like, oh yeah, this is our old homeworld. I remember this back from when I had that one vision. And I got bumped on the head and then saw the Metal Tin Boy orc talk to me saying that this is where we were born.
Hear me out. It's the final duel between Yarrick and Gazgul. And at some point, there's a break in the action, and Yarrick looks at him and says, why? Why here? And Gazgul, because he respects Yarick, tells him the truth. Or at least as far as what Gazgul's addled, brain sealed and all that steel, possibly brain damaged, at least what he believes to be true. That would be pretty epic.
The one thing that we do know about Gazgul is that he is crazy intelligent, which is weird. He's also a master of prophecy. He out-prophesized the Space Wolves and defeated Ragnar Blackmane. He didn't kill Ragnar, just put that out there, but he let Ragnar cut his head off because Ragnar had a prophecy of killing Gazgul, and Gazgul found out and allowed himself to die, in quotes, and then reattach his head and go back out and beat the piss out of Ragnar because Ragnar was destined to kill him. And he's like, that's not how prophecies work.
Darth Plagueis the Wise says Gazgul's brain is fine. Well, he's basically the courier from Fallout New Vegas. He got shot in the head, but he got better, and he seems fine. How could he possibly be indifferent? Except he kind of is a little bit different because he's like a lot smarter and now says he's the prophet of Gork and Mork. I don't know. Like, it certainly is open to question whether his brain is working as intended or not.
Oh, I just got the perfect scene in it. Yarick is like Yarick is like spitting up blood and everything. The fight is about to, like, it's at its climax. Yarick is defeated. And Gazgul is circling like, a shark. And he's just like, why here? Why don't you just get off my planet? And Gazgul just replies with, it was mine first.
I like that. That's a good way to do it.
No matter where you move it, this is my world.
Nice.
I like that idea.
That's a good one. That's pretty rad. Well, we have a whole bunch of great topics coming up for the rest of season 2 of Lorebeards 40K. I have an extensive list. I was telling Alexis about it today. She's like, wow, Jesus Christ, Russ.
Yeah, it was Ross's list is big.
There's a lot of stuff I want to talk about. I'm so excited. We broadcast every Wednesday and every Saturday from 2 to 5 Mountain Time. And this is the part of the episode where I say, if you like this deep dive into the grim darkness of the far future, do us a big favor, hit the like and subscribe buttons, help the algorithm spread our heresy to even more unsuspecting minds, because that'll help the channel grow.
It does. Quite a bit.
And let's see, do we have anything special? I don't think we have anything special coming up. We just have our tip right now, at least. But if there's a big reveal from Games Workshop, like we did an Exodite show recently, this is why Armageddon was pushed to today, is because last week we had to cover Exodites because of the big summer reveal. So that is going to be, unless something else happens, I think we've got a pretty extensive list of what we plan to do. We're going to have polls up on our YouTube channel. If you want to vote and see what is going to come next for Lorebeards 40K, you can go check out our YouTube page and go to the post section. If you want to talk about things you'd like to see or tell us about your home campaigns of Wrath and Glory or Dark Heresy or Rogue Trader or whatever it happens to be, we have a great Discord. I'm going to put the link into the chat right now. And we call our Discord members Lord Seekers, and they get to learn about really cool stuff happening with our channel and what's going to be going on in the future. So go check out that link, join our Discord, be part of our community for Lorebeards in general, not just 40K, but all the Lorebeards.
Yeah.
I also host Lorebeards Role-Playing on Mondays from 2 to 5. Alexis, where can people find you on the internets?
So you see this name right here, Norn Queen Alexis? Just type that in. It's one of these spots.
Yeah.
But just type that in. I am on Blue Sky. I am on Instagram. I am on TikTok. I do YouTube videos occasionally when I remember. I do those every now and then. I play mostly like 40K games and things of that nature and do like lore videos on my YouTube channel. On my TikTok, you can see all my Viking stuff. If you're interested in that, you can see us fight. I actually had a really, really good fight with Bjergwin the other day, and it was an amazing fight. I got him with a kick and everything. It was fantastic.
Nice. And I am streaming on Twitch, twitch.tv/TheRossWatson. I just wrapped up Space Marine 2. And Alexis, guess what my next game is? It's Rogue Trader.
Finally.
Finally,
Oh my
it's Rogue
God.
Trader. Yeah,
I can talk to you about it. Beat the game quickly.
Oh, well, I mean, playing it on stream is not as fast as playing it by myself, but I will do my best.
That is very true.
Because I will be talking a lot about the lore of Rogue Traders and the Coronis Expanse in those episodes. So if you want to, if you're curious about like where a lot of that stuff comes from in Rogue Trader, please come join me. Currently, I'll be streaming on Thursdays. I think I'm aiming for Thursday. All right.
That's kind of why I want to do a playthrough of Space Marine, but I want to turn off like any connection to anybody else because I don't want anyone joining me. And I want to just talk, like stream it and talk about the lore of everything that's happening around it.
I tried that.
So many cool things.
I tried that with the first game, and the gameplay was just so bad. In fact, the game crashed on me, and I was like, okay, I'm out. I'm going to go to Space Marine 2. And it was so much better Space Marine 2. So I'm sure you do. I'm just warning you that there may be some technical difficulties, or
oh yeah, of course,
the camera. God, that camera. Ugh.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, that's it for today's episode. And remember, Alexis, in the grim darkness of the far future,
there is only lore.
Cheers, everybody.
Okay, love you guys.